Welcome everyone to the second game of the semifinals between Rapport and Hikaru Nakamura. Maria, what do you think of Hikaru's chance today to make it to the finals?
The chances are, of course, amazing. Hikaru is in a very good position with draw odds. He only needs a draw to advance. In case of a loss, it will be still tie break. So he is very comfortable and should be very confident to advance. And we also have a second game between the Americans, Aronian with Black in the same situation. He also won yesterday against Linear Dominguez and just needs a draw. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, no, that game is going to be very interesting as well. Hikaru has been in this position before when he played Yesipenko in the group stage. He also only needed a draw to advance. So we'll see how that's all gonna go. I'm sure that that experience from that game is gonna help him in today's game, but I think overall he should have good chances. And yeah, the other game between Dominguez and Aronian is also gonna be very exciting. And we see Richard opening up with one knight f3.
Yeah, that's quite a typical Rapport. He usually tries to play more out of the book openings. It sort of like reminds me of Artemiev sometimes. Usually Artemiev also plays knight f3 first and then can play pretty much anything. And that's what his plan is, to surprise Hikaru. So we'll see how he will manage to do that.
I guess he just wants to try and
if I may
and get a game and not have too much theory. So he goes g3. I guess Hikaru will stick with his main weapon, which is the move g6. It's going to be very, very solid for black. And generally black doesn't really have much to worry about. I'm a bit surprised that Rapport did take a little bit of time in the opening. I mean, if the clock times are correct, it does seem like he took a minute or something for the first two moves.
Okay, g3. Yeah, it happens sometimes that the players, even on this level, they might overthink something and make a different move from what they were preparing. Like suddenly you cannot remember a very principal line in the line that you wanted to catch your opponent in, and you realize it's safer to go for something you know but did not prepare, rather than this, where you can get yourself surprised.
And as we speak, we have Hikaru here on the live feed. We see that he indeed is staying after the move g3. I guess he will stick with the move g6 as his main weapon. But what he could also do is go, let's say, knight f6, bishop g2, e6. Because against the cat line, he likes employing this bishop e7 system. But it's always interesting, you know, when, of course, Hikaru is in a good situation. He only needs to draw today to move here to move on. However, psychologically, it can be a bit difficult sometimes. Because of course you need to play the game. You cannot play for a draw, right? At some point your opponent might give you chances and you should be ready to take them, right? And not just, you know, I'm gonna trade everything and make a draw. You also need to have that sort of more active mindset. And we have knight f6 by Hikaru, so something tells me that he's going for the setup with bishop e7, maybe to take Richie out of book.
Or maybe he also is waiting for Richard's move to decide later what to play, because I mean he can even go, he can go for kind of King's Indian setup if d4 will follow, or he can go to e6 and bishop e7.
Yeah, that is indeed also an option. White can play also with d3 and after castles knight e2 and e4. There's definitely one way of playing the position, as you mentioned, more of a King's Indian approach. And we have e6 on the board by Hikaru. So I think, like I said, he's going for this setup with bishop e7 and short castles, because that's what he plays against the cat line. So I'm curious to see whether Richie, okay, he cancelled, whether Richie will go into the cat line with d4 and c4, or if he goes for a King's Indian attack. White also has bishop e7 by Hikaru on the board. White also has a third option, which is to go c4, castles, and b3, which is also very playable. Oh, and d3 by Richie. So after d3, there's actually two things black can do. I think black usually castles in this position, which is what Hikaru does. And after knight bd2, here black has two options. Black can go c5, and we'll get more of a King's Indian type of position, King's Indian attack. The other option black has is, we have knight bd2 on the board, is to go knight c6 and to go e5 right away. And this sort of turns into a pierced type of position, but then with black playing as white sort of, but white has some extra tempi.
Yeah, it is pretty flexible though. Yeah, he can also go for b6 maybe later.
b6 also an option, yeah. Let's see, I think he will go knight c6, that's what he usually does. I mean, if you rapport after c5, e4, this is sort of the game you want. You have all the pieces on the board, you can start some sort of attack on the king side. I mean, let's say let's say black wins on the queen side, I mean, so be it, right? I don't know if you remember, but there was this game between Sergei Karyakin and Sam Shangland in the World Cup over the summer, and Sergei used a similar approach against Sam's French, where he went for this King's Indian type of attack.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it is pretty flexible and solid approach, and he still might surprise Richard later.
But let's see what Hikaru will do. I mean, I think he has played some games with the move knight c6. Once again, this is more of a solid approach. Black wants to go e5, put the pawn in the center. There's two things white can do. White can go e4 and just continue as a normal King's Indian attack. I think here black generally takes and goes like e5 and should be fine, generally speaking. White also has another option, because black wants to go e5, which is to go to move d4. Of course, this looks very weird, but white is arguing that now the knight on c6 is kind of misplaced, because you would like to go c5 and put pressure on the center. Oh. What do you think Hikaru's going to do?
I think c5 might happen sooner or later. Maybe first knight d7. I feel like Hikaru wants to be a bit more flexible and wait with important decisions for as long as possible.
Yeah, makes sense. That was very weird. Our board randomly got switched.
I think it's because they removed the doubled game finally, so that should not happen anymore. But yeah, it was fixed.
So Hikaru did play knight at c6, and after d4, knight e4. I guess he must have looked at this, probably Richie as well. So it will be very interesting to see how deep the preparation of both players will be. I guess that the point behind knight e4 is to follow up with a 5 strength and a knight in the center. And I was just wondering, like, let's say white plays a move like b3, preparing to go bishop b2 and c4. I think this would actually be a mistake due to knight c3, hitting the queen, and if the queen moves over, knight b4. Knight, I think white simply cannot protect this pawn, so here black would be much better.
Certainly will take that.
Yeah, Hikaru will be happy, of course, to see b3 on the board. But
and taking on e4 is probably also not really an option, because you get such a strong pawn on e4, and the square for the knight on d5.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is an option, because after takes, there's the move knight e5, and here, okay, if you take on d4, white's going to take here, but black should be fine one way or another. But as we speak, we have to move c3 on the board by Richie. I guess Richie cannot be too unhappy about this. He will keep all the pieces on the board. He will get a fighting game. And, I mean, maybe black has to play something like f5, but once again, a position will arise where, I mean, black should be fine here. On the other hand, he has some weak squares over here, right? So at least it's something for white to play for.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Richard has important decisions to make now. Yeah. How to put his pieces. And what to do with the bishop on c1?
That is a good question. I think an idea for white here would be to go knight e1. And then let's make a random move for black. Let's say black goes bishop f6, for example. Then white goes knight d3. Let's say we play something like queen e7. White goes then knight f3. And the bishop could come out to to f4. So that's generally a way of playing here for white. And also besides all of that, Richie could also play f3 in this position, hitting the knight. Then after the straight, the bishop could come out of f4, or he could play for e4. But I think if he wants to play for an advantage, he has to go for this maneuver, knight e1 to d3.
I see, yeah. It's like knight castling. One knight goes to d3 and another one takes its place.
Yeah.
Yeah, e5 is also kind of a weak square later, especially if both knights will be pointing to e5. But I guess it's also not really a big problem. Since black only needs a draw, Hikaru can also trade even a bishop later on e5 to simplify the position.
True, yeah. Of course, the more piece they could trade off, that would be in his favor. White would like to get some sort of knight e1 by Richard on the board. Yeah, I think this is the plan, putting the knight on d3. Given the fact that Hikaru has played fairly quickly up till here, tells me that he's still in his preparation. Or, I mean, maybe not necessarily for this game, but he must have looked at this at some point in time. Now, I wonder if he could go e5, right? Because the e5 square is currently not under White's control. So he could play the move e5. I don't know how this works out, but it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, especially that currently two pieces of white are on the first rank, which makes Hikaru's pieces simply placed much better. So opening up the center now is the best time if he wants to.
Yeah. So e5 is an option, but he does seem to be thinking in the current position. At least that's what it seems like. So let's see what he's gonna do. In the meantime, I guess in this game between Lenier, Dominguez, and Levon Aronian, Levon still seems to be in his preparation. He has 1:33 on the clock. I mean, these days it seems like Levon, he's in his prep every single game, right? He completely caught Lenier yesterday and also right now.
Yeah.
Still blitzing out everything. I think Lenier has already spent a bit of time, right? And Levon is still blitzing with move a6.
Yeah, Levon seems to be insanely prepared. In this tournament, he's in a great shape. His openings are on top, and yeah, tactically also.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, he's really crushing it once again. He crushed the group, 4.5 out of 6, and he won the first game of the semifinals. I think, yeah, Levon, he's up to...
He prepared a little bit.
He prepared a little bit. Levon is he's back up to 27.86, gaining 14 points in this tournament. As we mentioned yesterday, Hikaru is also having a very good tournament. He's gaining 13 points. But let's see what he's going to do in the current position. He hasn't moved just yet. Just curious to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, so the last move was a6. I guess stopping the knight from going to b5.
Right, yeah, that's one idea.
But now Linier can consider going knight c4.
Right, but I guess
it also always it gets under d5. So it's sort of also d5 is possible later. He can play like queen c7 and then hit d5.
It's indeed a very nice idea. Let's say White plays a move like h3. We cannot go d5 here right away because the pawn is always hanging after. This pawn is always hanging. So Black could play a move like queen to c7, making sure the pawn on e5 is once more protected, and then prepare to move d5. And as you mentioned, a6 is aimed against knight to b5, but also like as soon as White goes knight c4, then we can throw in b5 and take it from there. So it's an interesting position. I mean, Black has these double pawns here in the center, which generally give White a very small advantage. However, Black can sometimes get a lot of space if Black gets in d5 or b5 in some cases. So I think Levon can be quite satisfied by the outcome of the opening. In the meantime, I'm a little bit surprised that Hikaru blitzed out all of this and he's currently thinking.
I'm not sure. He must have looked at the idea knight e1. It's possible that he had a couple of options in mind while preparing and now he's just choosing one of them. Sometimes you can also just suddenly get another idea completely at the board and it's hard to get rid of it because it seems nice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's definitely also an option. So let's see what he's gonna do here. I mean, to me, a move like e5 makes sense. Maybe b6, bishop a6, because this bishop is often very passive. Black could, I mean, I guess bring it back into the game with bishop d7, bishop a doesn't really work, because white can always put the knight on f4 or something, then yeah, it can never really come to the game. So lots of options here. And I think if you're Richie, you cannot be too unhappy. Once again, all the pieces are on the board. You have, I mean, the position is on one hand kind of symmetrical. On the other hand, there's some sort of imbalance because black played the move f5. So we'll see how this one will proceed.
Let's see if this was played before, actually.
Yeah.
It's an interesting position. Actually, yeah, Rapport apparently played this before. Not a very, not a very strong opponent. It was 3 years ago.
With white or
So
with
they
black?
with white, exactly identical position. And here black actually played e5. So well spotted, Benjamin. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. The point about e5 is that either you play it here or you cannot play it after. Because let's say you go b6, white goes knight d3, controls the e5 square. Then after that goes knight f3, controls it once more, and you can never go e5 anymore. So let's see what Hikaru will come up with here.
Yeah, he must have looked at this game. And there is also one more game, I think from Berlin, maybe. Candidates, Kramnik against Aronian.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, this one must have been Moscow candidates. 2016.
Oh, I'm seeing that Richard had the same position himself in the Bundesliga in 2019.
Yeah, so that was Bundesliga. Okay. Yeah, April. Right. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rapport and Nakamura is following Kramnik Aronian from the 2016 Zurich Chess Challenge. Actually, a tournament that Hikaru won. So yeah, this has all been seen before. Let's see what. So e5 is an option. What else do you think is an option here for black?
I'm not sure. There are so many nice options. But it seems like e5 is most principle for black to open up a little bit to gain more space.
Indeed, yeah.
And so white seems to have to take on e5. Yeah. He's playing something like e3 will be met with b6, and then you have a problem on the diagonal.
Right, yeah. No, I agree. Hikaru still hasn't moved. Which, yeah, it's a little bit surprising to me that he played, after d4 he played knight e4 fairly quickly, c3, f5, all this was played very fast by Hikaru. After 91 he is thinking. So the question is, has he looked at this at all or not? Has he forgotten his preparation or what exactly is going on?
He must have looked at it. He must have looked at both games, especially the one by Rapport. Maybe there is something he prepared, or maybe he's now second guessing it and will still go for the main line, so to speak, e5.
Yeah.
He could play b6 first. I guess he's not really in a rush. I don't think white is preparing to play f4 at all. It will weaken the center too much
Yeah,
and block the
so
bishop on c1.
indeed. Yeah. Okay.
But of course, you need to
E5
make it.
played
Okay, it followed.
by Hikaru, by the way. So I guess Richie must have looked at this, because as you said, this was still played in. Wait, was the move E5? Was that what he played himself?
His opponent played it against him. Yeah, he.
Oh, Richie
Richard
already had a
was
game
white.
here.
Yeah, was white. Yeah.
Ah,
In the one in Bundesliga, yeah, his opponent was around 2360 rated, and Rapport
right.
won that game, but likely not just because of the opening. He was just
Right.
simply stronger.
So how did Richie respond after the move E5?
He took
Okay,
on
well,
e5. No, wait. No, Richard actually did not take on e5. Kramnik did against Aronian.
Ah, right. And in this game, Richard has blitzed out the move knight df3, bishop f6 by Hikaru, and e3.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
it still follows the game.
Oh, that Richie had earlier?
Yep.
Oh,
Here,
then I'm
black
sure
played
that,
king h8. So yeah, Hikaru must be following, but at some point he will be playing something else, and yeah, it's interesting to see when.
No, indeed, for sure. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see when he's gonna deviate. So, let's see. I mean, e3 completely strengthens the white center. Guess white wants to follow with knight at d3. And I wonder if black takes how white is gonna recapture. I mean, maybe there's something to be said for e takes, because then your bishop can come out of f4, and altogether looks quite pleasant for white.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, white is going to go knight d3 and put pressure on this pawn over here. So you can, of course, still keep defending that pawn. Like you could play around, let's say you go b6, right? Knight at d3 and then rook e8 just to defend. Because even if white takes everything, this cannot be too bad. Because, okay, white has the bishop pair here, right? But this bishop on g2 is kind of neutralized by this knight on e4. You could go f3 to get rid of this knight, but then you're blocking your own bishop, so that's not really helping too much. So it's kind of a interesting position here. And
yeah, it's certainly not bad for black.
Yeah, because I think if you take on d4, white's going to take with the e-pawn, and this should be pretty pleasant for white. So let's see how Hikaru will deal with all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like taking on d4 will happen sooner or later, but question is when. White is also planning to play knight to d3.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there is any tactical opportunities here. I'm just thinking about some knight takes, I don't know, say f2 and then push d5. But probably all these trades will be in white's favor since the center will be stronger after getting rid of the pawn on d5. So, yeah, I mean if knight d3 to have a fork.
Yeah. So let's see in the game. Board is not updating, it's so annoying. Or no, wait, just no moves have been made. I thought the board was not updating, but Linier is just still thinking. I mean, makes sense. Lavon is still in his preparation, and he realizes that he has to come with something interesting here. I mean, if he comes up with moves that aren't too challenging, Lavon will probably just equalize. Also because he's in his preparation. And keep in mind that Linier has to win this game, right? So he has to try to set real problems for Lavon, because if he doesn't, Lavon will just solve it all, and he should be on his way to qualify to the finals. And Linier just played the move b4. Looks logical, but Lavon blitzed out the trade on b4 and now d5. And I think this is actually some sort of theory where black's hitting the pawn on b4. White can take on e5, I guess, but black should be fine in all these complications. He could take with the queen, for example. this is under attack, and the pawn on b4 is under attack. So it all works out tactically for black. So you don't want to do that with white. Maybe you move like queen to b3, but I'm sure Levon must have prepared all of this as well. I mean, given the fact that it is 1:35 on the clock, that's definitely... It's always a bit scary / annoying, you know, when your opponent has 1:35 on the clock.
Yeah, it is. It is super annoying to realize your opponent has response for any move that you do. Likely they will have a quick move if you do a good move, and probably not so quick but winning move if you do something wrong. That's always the case. Actually, they are still following if a bunch of games from around 2-3 years ago. There was a Super Grandmaster game until they were following it until Levon played d5. So in that game, Karyakin versus Krivoruchko, Krivoruchko played b5. The game ended in a draw. So Levon is playing more principal move, which is followed by 3 games.
So is b5 a novelty then by Levon?
It's not a novelty. Yeah, it was played before. Actually, all of these games ended in a draw. So we'll see. Maybe he prepared something else after this. Actually, in those games, b5 also was played, but just later. Yeah, black does not want to allow b5 by white, so they need to stop that pawn as well.
Yeah.
But interesting that he prioritizes d5 move.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure he has prepared it. So sometimes, you know, you can ask like, why would Levon play d5? But the question can be as simple as, you know, it's a top move of the engine, right? So they don't have to think about it for too long.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I wonder what exactly Hikaru is thinking about. I give Levon very good chances to move on here. Given the fact that he's in his preparation, the position looks fine. I guess he has prepared this quite deeply, and I think he's gonna move on here quite smoothly. Hikaru will have to solve some problems, in the sense that it seems that Richard is still familiar with the position, Hikaru is not, and there are some problems for black. As we said, this knight is coming to d3. The trade on d4 is always very much in white's favor. You don't want to do that. So yeah, like we said, he probably has to play, let's say, rook e8, knight d3, and now some sort of random move, right? Because we said the trade on e5 is not too terrible, but what is that move then is the big question.
You can also force white to take on e5 or move one of the knights away by playing knight d6. How do you think? How good is that? I mean, yeah, no, you cannot really play knight d6. You have to be careful about the pawn on d5.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it's a tricky position. I mean, maybe, as we said, b6, so this bishop could come out to a6 or b7. Because it could not come out to e6, because then this pawn hangs.
Yeah.
And if it comes out at d7, then this pawn on d5 is always hanging all the variations. So I guess something like rook e8 and b6 is the way to go for black. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, he puts the bishop on b7 or a6. Should be maybe a little bit better for white, but black isn't too much worse.
Yeah, I like b6 and bishop a6. That is a very nice diagonal for the bishop. Also allows you to capture on d3 in case if the pawn on e5 gets too much attacked.
Yeah, we actually had an interesting suggestion in the chat. Someone asked if knight takes g3 is an option. I mean, it makes sense, because if white recaptures, we get e4 hitting the knight. But I think the problem is that even though we win back the piece, white's structure is a lot better. I can just play something like knight f4, and after takes, take with the queen, and actually we lose the pawn on d5 right away.
Yeah, yeah. I was also thinking about knight takes f2 to hit the base of the pawn structure, but then you open up the f file, you get the f5 pawn weakened.
Well, there's actually
but also
you can take with the Yeah, you can take with the knight, and now there's no fork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the main thing that I don't like is that we are losing the e5, the e pawn for
Right,
the
yeah.
pawn, which is much less important for the fight for the center. So even if you
Indeed.
get back the knight, you get yeah, you lose this pawn.
So b6 by Hikaru. So I guess he's going for the plan we just mentioned. So he wants to bring the bishop out of a6 or b7. So now I expect Richard to play knight at d3. But I heard that his name is actually pronounced like Richard, or like how is it pronounced? Richard.
Well,
Richard?
in Hungarian, apparently it's Richard, but
Richard.
everyone is, yeah, everyone is already used to call him Richard and Richie.
Yeah, Richie.
But yeah, it is.
Richard, okay. So b6 played by Hikaru. I guess now knight at d3 has to be played by Richie. Well, we'll just call him Richie, it's much easier. Hitting the pawn on e5. And once again, if black takes, white takes with the e-pawn. Bishop coming out at f4. A rook e1. All looks pretty pleasant for white. I mean, white's position, the one piece in white's position that's kind of passive is this bishop on c1. Right, and by trading here, now the bishop opens up. And it can become quite active. So I think Hikaru should play a move like rook e8. Of course, now white could maybe take on e5. So let's have a look at that. Let's say white takes on e5. I guess we have to take. Let's say white takes, we take. Let's say white takes, we take with the rook. And here white could try to prepare something like b3, bishop b2, and c4. And that's where the bishop pair could really be an advantage. So maybe something like queen of c2. Let's say we go bishop here, for example, and then white plays rook d1. And eventually, you know, b3, bishop b2, c4. White can definitely, you know, try to play for an advantage there. So I guess that's definitely a challenge. I guess what Richard could also do is start with a move like queen c2 to keep all of these ideas in the position, but just sort of keep waiting.
Yeah, it's quite tricky here. With all these pawns in the center, they are kind of like hanging pawns for black. You need to be always very careful with trades and in the end not to lose one of the pawns. Because if you move the bishop from c8 away, f5 gets not protected, and d5 can also get in danger after the trades, and something like f3, f4, and the bishop will hit d5.
Yeah, and all of this is on the board. We have them here on the live feed as we tune in. So we see Richard buzzing out all his moves. Hikaru sitting here with his coffee cup. He's reaching for the rook. I guess he's gonna move this rook over here. Yeah, rook 8 on the board. So let's see whether Richie is still in his preparation. I mean, as you mentioned, Richard had a... So did Hikaru deviate from that game?
Let me see. So currently, yes, they deviated. So I think b6 was the deviation. In that game, rook e8 was played, but it's possible that it's just a different move order.
Right, so rook e8, knight d3. What was played in that game?
Sorry, wait a minute. I'm trying to understand what am I doing wrong. Okay. So in that game, king h8 was played, then knight d3, and then black took on d4. So they actually gave an advantage to white immediately.
Yeah, white should be quite a bit better here if you take on d4. So I think Hikaru goes for the right approach with b6, knight d3, and rook to e8. I can't... Okay, it seems like Hikaru has 1 hour and 13 minutes. 1 hour and 13 minutes on the clock. And Richard has 126. So Richard's still playing fairly quickly. But the time management definitely tells me that Richard has not looked at this morning. And he may have looked at this at some point in time. Question is when. and also, how much he knows. Given the fact that Hikaru plays the best line here with b6 and rook e8, makes me wonder if maybe whether he's come up with this over the board or he vaguely remembers something like this.
Yeah, true. So
And
rook e8 and yeah, Report is thinking now. Yeah, maybe queen c2 will follow. Yeah, I wonder if
yeah,
Rapport is in kind of prep. Like he must have looked at his game and maybe looked for improvements for Black, since he has to expect someone to play the same against him.
yeah, no, for sure. He might have looked at this for another game, not specifically for Richard. So let's see. I like queen c2, as we said before, because it keeps the options in a position. The one drawback of the move queen c2, I guess, is that maybe here Black could play bishop a6, and then trade the bishop for the knight. Although I don't know how great that is specifically, but it's just an additional option Black has. Because let's say Black does not take advantage of this option and plays something like bishop e7, then White is going to play rook d1, and then take an e5, and White will have already played these moves, queen c2 and rook to d1, which should be in his favor. Right, so White could decide, so this is probably what Richard is thinking about, like he might think like, okay, I can take now, go for that position, because if he goes queen c2, tries to delay that option, then after bishop a6 it's not necessarily there anymore, because Black can trade the bishop for the knight. So I guess that's what he's weighing off right now, whether he should take or not.
Yeah, that's possible. Maybe we have a look at Aronian's game real quick.
Yeah, but I don't think any moves have been made after the move d5, right?
Yeah,
No,
Linear is getting there again. It's already half an hour.
Oh, it's already Yeah. I mean, nothing too worrying. I don't see him getting into trouble. But he will also need time on the clock to be able to put pressure on Levon. Right? So but yeah, I think Levon will be fine in this game. He's looking pretty comfortable so far.
Yeah, for example, queen c2 is sorry, knight c2 is fine to move the knight to e3. I'm not sure if he needs to think that long. He needs to defend b4, right? So there are not so many options to what to play. You don't really want to play rook b1 because after b5 and trade, you likely will need to bring the rook back on a file. And defending with the queen, probably not ideal. You can always get knight d4 ideas, attacking the queen. So knight c2 seems logical. Yeah, I'm not sure if he has too many options.
Yeah, knight c2 makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to see what Levon has prepared after this move. White is threatening b5 in some cases, moving this knight away from the defense of the pawn on e5. So maybe b5 in the current position. Right, it stops b5, and also it fixes this pawn on b4. And I guess this might be some sort of long enforcing line. Let's have a look. Let's say White takes. White takes. Let's say White takes. I think Black takes with the knight. I think there is actually some sort of line at this, like this. There is, or probably you take here, and Black is probably okay, and it's quite forcing. So if you're Black, that's definitely what you're happy with.
Yeah, true. Taking on b5 is an option. Black can also take not on b5 but on e4. I wonder if this is something that Linear is calculating. B takes c6, e takes f3, and takes on b7. What do you think about this position?
Sorry, what exactly? Sure, you're talking about Levon's game, right?
Yeah, after b5,
Yeah.
to take on e4, if Levant takes on e4.
And if white recaptures?
You simply want to recapture. I was calculating taking the knight.
Oh, sorry. So let's say b5. You're saying if takes, pawn takes e4. It's an option, but I mean, white could take, I guess, and then queen takes, and I don't quite see discovery with the knight. So I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest, that Levant is thinking here, but I guess b5 is the move, because as we said, it stops b5 from white, and if white ever takes on d5, trying to take this pawn on e5 in this position, maybe we can just take with the queen, hit the pawn on d3, and the weakness on e5, the weakness on d3 should offset the weakness on e5, and black should be fine. And as we said, if white trades on b5 and trades on a8, then if white takes on d5, we take with the knight, and this pawn on b4 is weak. So probably a lot of trades are going to happen here, and that's what you're happy with if you're Levant. Like, you want something that's forcing, a lot of pieces come off, and then you get closer and closer to the draw.
True. Yeah, no, any trades are in his favor, of course. Yeah, they can afford to think for a few minutes, but getting into a situation where you have half an hour less than your opponent on the clock and it's still their prep is quite dangerous, because it's not only this move that you will be thinking about. You might have prepared later something that will surprise you even more. And sometimes any move is better than searching for the best move.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Richard has moved. He's played the move rook e1. So I guess his idea with the move rook e1 is that if black goes bishop a6, he can avoid black giving up the bishop for the knight, because the rook is out of the way. So here he could still make a move with the knight, whether that's trading on e5. Maybe he feels that trading on e5 here he gets a slightly better version, because the rook is on e1. We'll see, of course, how that plays out. So I guess that's his option, that's his idea. Hikaru is, of course, now forced to go bishop a6. He could also make another move, like bishop e7, or a move like queen e7, because queen e7 keeps all of his options open. There's actually one funny trick after queen e7. If white were to play the move queen a4, putting pressure along this diagonal, black has a very funny knight takes d4.
No, that's nice.
Hitting the queen, if you trade, we take here.
Puzzle rush.
Yeah. Right. So let's see what Hikaru is gonna come up with. But I don't think the move rook e1 is too scary for him.
Yeah. So what is gonna happen now? Yeah, rook e1. Well, the computer is suggesting queen d7. I'm not sure if I understand the idea behind that.
Sorry, what?
The computer is suggesting the move queen d7.
Oh,
I kind of want to develop the bishop.
Well, yeah, I think it makes sense, because let's say white trades on e5 now, then we're gonna recapture, and after this whole trade, the bishop isn't necessarily doing too much on a6, and maybe you'd rather have it on b7. And the queen is definitely better placed on d7, because then the rook can come in at d8 or e8.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, queen e7 is a nice move to prepare for all of this. And white doesn't have an easy move to prepare, because if you go b3, then c3 is always hanging. You don't want to do that. You could go queen to c2, however, which is a useful move after this trade. So let's see what's going to happen. But yeah, do you think queen e7 is realistic or no?
I'm not so sure. Like, logically speaking, developing your last minor piece is kind of a nice nice move, like the normal continuation. But at the same time, looking ahead, defending f5 in advance is not a bad idea. And as you said, to clear the space for the rook on d8. Yeah, he needs to be careful with his central pawns, because they might get attacked real quickly. Until queen on d1 is moved, d5 is gonna be always hit after all the trades. So bishop b7 is very logical, but queen d7 maybe is an option. Oh, actually bishop... Wait, was it played? No, it's me
no move has
imagining
been,
it. No move yet.
No move has been made by Hikaru yet, right?
Yeah, no move.
Alright, so any moves yet in the game between Levon and...
No. Now Levon is thinking, and yeah, he has all the time in the world there. He just started using his starting time. I expect b5, because if black allows white to play b5, yeah, it's gonna be much worse for his.
I think so too, yeah. But of course he is taking his time here. I mean, it's classical chess after all, which means that the players can take their time. So let's see what is gonna happen.
No, it just was played.
Oh, he just played b5. Yeah. No, I feel pretty confident that Levon is gonna move on today. So let's see what Hikaru will do in the current position. And by the way, you guys, it's also now on the screen. Hikaru and Levon won yesterday. If they do not lose today, they will move on to the final. So yeah. So let's see, bishop. So we said bishop expecting chat to, well, I mean, yeah. Anyway, bishop a6 is a move for Hikaru. Bishop b7 maybe? What happens after bishop b7? Or, well, although the one thing I don't like about bishop b7 is that here we don't really have any threats or ideas, and here white could just continue with queen c2. Right, with that being that, let's say we go queen e7, white could trade on e5, or go b3. Right, the idea being behind b3 that if, let's say we make a random move, like a5, white wants to go bishop b2, and eventually trade on e5, take everything, and then c4. So let's say we play this, h6, white's going to take an e5, we take, and then c4. That's why they put the bishop on b2. So that is sort of what I liked about the move bishop a6, is that it's putting pressure on this knight on d3. I wonder, like, let's say white goes queen c2 here, do we... I mean, maybe we take the knight, I don't know. It's definitely something to consider, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. Or you can just play queen d7 or d6, I don't know. Bring the other rook.
Yeah. So let's see.
Is there anything happening in Levon's game? No, just
nothing has happened yet, right?
Yeah, nothing yet. Yeah, I don't know. I prefer bishop a6 personally.
Bishop a6, yeah, makes sense. Because you put pressure on the knight, and there's also another tactical idea in some lines, which is that sometimes black can take, then sacrifice the knight on f2 and e4. Whether it works in the position, I don't know. I guess it does, because queen b5 we can take here and the bishop is still under attack. So this is definitely also an idea for black. They could solve pretty much all his problems right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think about the current position?
Yeah, I think trading more pieces is better for Hikaru, so I would go for bishop a6 and yeah, trade on d3. Then white trades on e5.
Yeah.
Then you just put maybe the pawn on like c6 and defend d5, and yeah, it seems solid.
Right. And then what about the Levant game? Like b5 has just been played, right?
Yeah. Well, white probably will have to recapture on d5 and probably trade on a8. If he does not do that, I'm afraid his pawn on b4 might become in danger.
Yeah.
Since b file would open up, so he needs to take there.
I think so too, yeah. So let's see what's gonna happen. Right. So
Yeah, he probably has to trade many pieces when he's thinking how to avoid that. But
yeah.
he will have to take on d5 and then probably capture on maybe if he takes on d5, black takes, so is a knight.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because then the pawn on b4 is always under attack, so black should be fine there, I would think.
But so many trades, definitely not so good news for Linear.
Indeed, yeah. If you're Linier, you definitely want to keep pieces on the board, and if you're Levant, you're happy to see a lot of trades, get the position be simplified. And Hikaru has played the move bishop a6. I kind of like this approach more. It's a bit more direct, a bit more forcing. So let's see. I guess the only move I see for white here to try to play for an advantage is to take on e5, right? Because if you black trades on d3, should be okay. So let's say white takes. I mean, if we take on d3, white takes on f6, and white is practically winning because he's going to take on g7. White's winning a pawn. So we have to recapture with our knight. Let's say white takes. I think either way, white has to trade twice, because if this bishop steps back, black should be completely fine. White can never get b3 and c4 in. So white has to take, we recapture. And then maybe here, b3 for Richie. Follow it up with bishop b2. Black cannot take this pawn on c3, because white goes queen d4. With a double attack on the knight and the rook. Rook knight e2 is covered, and at the end of it all, you win a piece. So yeah, I guess here white still some chance for an advantage. Bishop b2, then a quick c4. I guess Hikaru has to prepare for that somehow by, let's say, moving this rook out of the way preemptively. The bishop moves here. Maybe a move like c6, let's say, making sure this is always nicely defended, and then queen e7, rook a8. And I mean, it looks sort of okay for black, because this bishop on g2 isn't doing too much. If white ever goes c4, we're gonna take, like let's say white goes here, we go queen e7 for example. Let's say c4, we take, and white has this weakness over here. So black should be fine, I would think. So I kind of like Hikaru's chances in the current position.
Yeah, white's only advantage is a pair of bishops.
Right, yeah.
But currently the position is so closed. Richard will have to think how to open up, and while he does, of course, Hikaru can pose some threats as well.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like we said, the position is fairly close for the moment, so the bishops aren't doing too much if you would get them. And it's really this knight in e4 that's neutralizing this bishop on g2, and also the bishop on b2 in the position we just saw. Oh, shoot. It was always kind of blocked.
Blocks an entire positions. Now, before you play b3, now you have to play queen to c2 or something.
Right, yeah.
And then we can always capture on g3, and this way white will lose a tempo.
Indeed, yeah. Like, let's say white were to play a move like queen c2 to prepare all of this, because in the current position, black does not have moves like c6 available. Here, indeed, black can always trade on d3. And now knight takes f2 is an option, or maybe queen d7, pass white the move. Because if white takes on e5 now, I feel like here black should be completely fine, because b3 and c4 is completely out of the question, because this bishop always covers the c3 square. And black is just very active. I mean, the rook's coming to d8, c6. black should be completely fine here, I think. So the only move I see for Richie to play for an advantage is to trade on e5. But, I mean, I guess if you're Hikaru, he cannot be too unhappy because the position simplifies somewhat.
Yeah. Oh, some moves were played in Dominguez Aronian game.
Let's try to pull it up. So, I don't see any moves after b5.
No.
Do you?
No, they were not. Sorry, sorry, it's my moves.
Oh yeah, right. So it was b5. I mean, b5 was still played fairly quickly by Levon, but it seemed like he did not blitz it out necessarily, right?
No. Like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess if you spent 3 to 4 minutes, it tells me that he has looked at this at some point, but he was just making sure. And I guess he should feel pretty comfortable here. I mean, all the lines we looked at seem pretty forcing. I mean, the pawn on b4 is also always weak, so I think Levon should be completely fine in the current position. So he's doing a pretty good job because Linye has played Italian quite a lot to come back in must-win situations. But I really like sort of the forcing approach that he's taking here and not giving him too much space, so to speak, to get a fighting game.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's a good time now to go on a quick break since both white players with white pieces are thinking. Might take some time.
Yeah, yeah, we are going to be taking a very short break. But do not go anywhere, you guys. Hikaru needs you guys. If he does not lose this game, he will move on to the finals of the first leg of the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin. That would be a huge step towards making it to the candidates. So keep sending in your energy, and we will see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to the second game of the semifinals of the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin. Maria, we have a blunder by Richard. I mean, Richard just played the move Bishop h3. What do you make of this move?
It's certainly interesting in Richard's style, so to speak. So Hikaru moves his bishop to diagonal of f1, a6, and Richard does symmetrically the same, c8, a3 diagonal, h3 diagonal. Certainly, I don't think it's any blunder. It's, first of all, don't really trust online engines because they are not that good or deep calculating, but maybe it's not the main continuation by white. They kind of give up control over the main diagonal after all the trades, but I don't think that it's anything significant here. So Hikaru could just take the knight on d3 and defend the pawn on f5.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what the point is behind the move bishop h3. I mean, what if we just go queen d7? Like, what does white gain from this move? I just don't see it. Do you have any idea what the idea could be behind this move?
No, and I certainly miss something that that Richard might have in mind. But my thinking is that they were, they were kind of still in the lines more or less of the previously played games, and he wanted to get away from any books. Because he needs to win the game. He knows that Hikaru prepared this line, which Richard played in the past himself. So he just wants to take Hikaru out of his possible preparation or any comfort zone. Even if he gets a slightly worse position, it's only on paper. In reality, it's two people playing. It's emotions. It's he just wants to have a game.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, in such games, there's always a lot of pressure on both games, right? On one hand, Hikaru knows that he shouldn't lose. On the other hand, Richard has to win, so this always puts a lot of pressure on him as well. Whereas, I mean, let's say a draw would be fine, then he can play a lot more relaxed. But here, if he only needs to win, yeah, there's just certain variations that he doesn't want to go for. But yeah, once again, I don't really see the point behind the move bishop h3, but let's try to figure it out. Like, let's say we go queen d7. Maybe white takes now. Let's say he takes everything. I don't really see the the only thing that I was thinking about is maybe the move f3, hitting the knight, and if the knight jumps back, then e4. That could be an idea. But then I was wondering, like, after bishop h3, what if we just go g6, for example? Is there... Although, wait, if you go g6, then white is going to take everything, go b3, and then this diagonal has opened up. So I guess that's his point behind the move bishop h3. However, there should be plenty of ways for black to deal with it. One idea would be, let's say, queen d7, and after this whole sequence, after f3, Hikaru also has the move knight g5, hitting the bishop. The bishop drops back, white's threatening f4. So here, I guess we have to move the rook, let's say to e7, so that after f4 we have knight e4, and black is completely fine. So I guess that is sort of his point behind the move bishop h3, but I just don't really think it works out.
True.
And by the way, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, on the other hand, Hikaru also can consider trading on d3 just to get rid of more minor pieces. And also this way his center is getting stronger since white cannot capture too many times on e5.
True, yeah.
I'm not sure which bishop will be more useful, the light squared or dark squared for black.
I know, it's a good question, yeah. People are saying bishop takes d3. I mean, it is a move, but you're giving up your bishop pair voluntarily. You're giving up your bishop voluntarily for the knight, so I don't know. Of course, it's possible. But I think someone like queen d7 also makes a lot of sense, just defending this pawn, because you just sort of keep the same position on the board. And the question is, what does white really gain from this move bishop h3, right? So, whereas queen d7 should be an improving move, and as we said, after f3 we always have knight at g5. White could still go for b3 and bishop b2 in this plan, but black should be fine one way or another.
Yeah. Shall we have a look quickly at the moves that has been played in the other game? There was actually lots of trades, and it looks like Aronian is completely fine, and is just...
Yeah, so let's have a look. So b5 was played by Levon. Lenier traded on b5, took on a8, Levon recaptured, took on d5, Levon recaptured. He took here, Levon took this pawn, and once again, if you're Levon, this is sort of really what you want, right? Everything seems pretty forcing, the pieces come off, and it feels like he's just getting closer and closer to the draw. I guess he should take with the bishop, I mean, exchanging even more pieces. And after takes, oh wait, I see a very nice point. I thought queen b3, right? Because you hit the knight. If this knight moves here, you take the pawn on b5. But black has the very nice queen a2, defending the pawn on e6. And if you take on b4, there's queen f2 check. The king steps over, and now queen f1 and checkmate. So this would be a very nice way for Levon to solve all of his problems on the spot. But I mean, I think this game is proceeding perfectly for Levon. Pieces are getting traded off, and it's all looking very good.
Yeah, it is pretty nicely spot tactics. What else? What else can Linier do? Doesn't seem like he can create anything in here. Only black might be able to play for a win, actually.
Yeah, no, true. Also, the time situation is still very good for Levon. He has 1:23 on the clock. Lenier 38 minutes. So let's see. I mean, after this trade, I don't see it. I think black should be completely fine here, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really a good position to be in for a player who only needs a draw, and Levon is just maybe a few minutes away of reaching the final of the first leg of Grand Prix.
Yeah, that'll be huge for Levon. He dropped down a little bit in the rating list, but he's showing in this tournament that he's, definitely still very much definitely one of the top players in the world, just crushing it. So I'm very curious to see how he will go from here. I mean, let's say he qualifies, how he will do in that tournament, because right now he seems pretty relaxed, just playing good chess. So that's very good to see. In the meantime, Hikaru is still thinking in the current position. So I guess Hikaru is gonna go queen e7. That's sort of the move I expect. Just defending the pawn, because like I said, if he goes g6, then white has this whole sequence of trading everything, and then trying to take advantage of this diagonal. So I think that's gonna be the move he's gonna go for. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. He could of course also trade on d3 to make sure that white can never really trade on e5 anymore, and then go queen e7. This should also be completely fine for black. I mean, he can move the rook to d8 on the next move, maybe g6, making sure this is never hanging. And in some positions, he still has this tactic, like let's say white goes b3. Maybe he has, I don't know if it works out here, but his tactic is always there. And then e4 with the fork on the queen. And although I guess it doesn't work here, because white goes queen c2, and then this is hanging. But you could play a move like, let's say, g6, bishop b2, and now knight takes f2. Takes an e4, hitting the queen, hitting the knight. And black is completely fine here. I would even prefer black in this position, because the pawn on e3 is always very, very weak.
And the bishop on b2 never is going to be in play. Like, even if it goes to a3, it hits nothing. Has
Indeed,
absolutely no threats.
So
yeah, this is a very good position for Hikaru.
Yeah. No, I think he can be quite satisfied about the outcome of the opening. Position is still very, very solid, and seems to be that he's completely fine. Wait, in the meantime, Lenier has moved. Oh no, wait, Levon is still thinking. But I guess bishop takes b4. It just looks nicer, right? Like, why would you not get more pieces off the board? Oh, he's sticking with the knight.
Oh. Yeah, knight b4, knight b4, and knight b4. Yeah, he could have traded more pieces. Maybe Linier can get some chances, like queen g4, for example, hitting the knight, and potentially he wants to play bishop h6.
True, that is also an option. I guess after queen g4, I mean the knight's on attack, e6 on attack. The only move I see right off is, I guess, queen a2 again, because we have this tactic with queen takes f2, we defend e6. We also hit the bishop, by the way, on d2. So what is white even gonna do here? I mean, yeah, you have to defend the bishop on d2 somehow, I think, but I don't see really an active way of doing so.
Yeah, if you do rook e2, then it's queen b1 check and then back.
Right, yeah, rook e1 is just a repetition.
Yeah.
And bishop e1 is a move, but it's very passive. On the other hand, how is black gonna defend the pawn on e6 now?
Rook f5 maybe?
True, rook f5
rook f5 attacking option. The knight.
Right, yeah.
He could even take on e5 and then take the bishop. That would be a good trade for black here, because I think knight and the bishop are not worse than a rook in this position.
Yeah.
Maybe even better.
Lenier has 36 minutes on the clock, and he has to try to find a way to pose some problems for Levon. If he doesn't do so and Levon makes a draw, Levon will move on to the finals. So let's see what is going to happen here. If Levon and Hikaru do not lose today, they will have a rest day tomorrow. But if we will see a comeback by one of the players, there will be tie breaks tomorrow. So We'll just have to see and wait what is going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of want to have more fight in Levon's game because I also really like Dominguez as a player, and feels a bit unfair that he did not even have any chances. But Levon is just in such a great shape, and everybody keeps saying that like when he is in such shape, yeah, the world is a better place,
This world is a
and
better
also
place, yeah.
nobody really can be any competition to him. When he was in top shape, he was winning Norway chess, beating Magnus. So that is gonna be huge if he can keep such shape to advance to candidates and to play candidates as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, if Levon is in good shape, I mean, he just seems unstoppable, to be honest. Just putting so much pressure with white, comfortably equalizing with black, playing very quickly. And that's what we're seeing right here. He's looking very, very good in this tournament. I cannot recall. Well, the game against Vincent was very up and down, but other than that, he seemed very comfortable in every game. So yeah.
Yeah, and even the game with Vincent, it was only up and down if you look at it with the engine. If you analyze the game, you cannot really see any flaws from Levon's side. He put so much pressure, like anything would crumble under this pressure.
Yeah. Anyway, so Hikaru, by the way, still hasn't moved after Bishop h3 by Richard. So how do you think he should deal with the threat to the f5 pawn?
Yeah, I think he must be considering either to take on d3 first and then move queen d7, or immediately queen d7. Yeah, he must be considering these two options. I don't think he will play g6 because it will get some ideas to Rapport, and you really don't want to give any ideas to Rapport in any situation. So playing more solidly and maybe simplifying a bit more is important. I think I prefer to keep the bishop on f6, to be honest. So trading the knight on d3 and keeping the bishop on f6, because it's closer to the king, it's defending this pawn structure, e5, g7, and yeah, you can play g6 in the future and to put the bishop on g7.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I think it's
bishop, yeah, not so important.
I think it's likely that he will have to give up one of the bishops. I mean, if he allows d takes c5, he's going to give up the light square, the dark square bishop. So if he trades on d3, he gives up the light squared bishop, which feels like a concession, but he has to make one anyway. And it feels like black should be...
Did he just do it?
Oh, aha, he has traded on d3. That does seem to be the correct move. So that is very good to see, yeah. This does seem to be the correct move. So now Richie is of course going to recapture, and then I guess after queen e7, black should be completely fine.
Nice chat.
Because the nice thing for black is that, let's say in a position like this, right? Let's say white takes now. Now the bishop Hikaru still has is the dark squared bishop. These pawns are on the light squares. So this should be very nice for him, because the bishop is sort of nicely in between the pawns. Whereas the dark squared bishop is always, you know, it's just sort of defending its own pawns, whereas the dark squared bishop is still very active. And Richard recaptured and queen d7 by Hikaru, defending the pawn on f5. And actually I just realized, like, if white takes, we take, and we should take with the rook, making sure this is always protected. If we take with the bishop, there's f3, and here things get very tricky, because the pawn on f5 is always hanging. But if we take with the rook, black should be completely fine. So I think in the current position, Hikaru shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. If he just gets another move, I guess he is just going to play the move g6, making sure f5 is always protected. Rook a8 is also an option. And then there's this trick with knight takes f2 and e4 that would solve all of his problems on the spot. So it's looking very, very good in a game where a draw would basically guarantee him the win in the match.
Yeah. Wait. No, he did not move yet. Rapport the thinking. I was surprised when he did not take the bishop immediately. Maybe he was not at the board.
Yeah. So let's see. So queen e7 by Hikaru. So what does Richie even do here, right? How do you create problems with white? Because if white goes rook to d1, we can just play rook a8. Problem solved. If white goes b3, for example, I think we liked g6, making sure this is always protected. Now this comes into the position, and black should be completely fine, I think. So I think it's looking very good for Hikaru at the moment. And once again, if he draws this game, he moves on to the final.
Yeah, and also, yeah, I think Laporte has to consider moving the queen away just in case, so no tactical chances with knight takes g3 are possible. I feel like in some variations, Hikaru might get an advantage in this case.
For sure.
And just jumps of the knight, like knight, I don't know, somewhere to d6, threatens with e4. So it's just maybe safer to put the queen away, maybe queen c2.
Queen c2 makes sense indeed, making sure that this is never in a position. I guess Hikaru will just continue with a move like rook a8. Then after b3, here's the big question. How do you continue in the current position, right? I mean, g5 maybe is an option going for this fork, but it feels a bit weakening. It's also not really a move I guess you want to make in a game where a draw is enough. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this one progresses. In the meantime, Lenier is still thinking. And yeah, I don't really see what he should do here, to be honest.
And yeah, the crazy engine wants to play g5 for Hikaru later. What do you think about ideas like that?
Yeah, no, it makes sense, but as I said, it's always a bit like, do you want to make such moves in a game where a draw is enough, right? And I guess black should be completely fine here, because after this whole trade, let's say bishop e2, we can always play a move like g4. The bishop drops back, but now the knight at e4 can never be challenged, because f3 is no longer an option, because I mean it is, but black should be fine. We can play a move like queen g7, putting some pressure along this diagonal, and if white doesn't do anything, maybe just h5, h4, slowly increase the pressure here, and black should be completely fine here, I think. So I really like Hikaru's chances.
Yeah, he has so many options. It's really nice to be in a position like that. He is slightly low on time, but it's lower. I mean, slightly lower on time, but it's not critical at the moment.
Yeah.
So Richard might play knight d2 maybe. That also removes the knight from potential forks.
So let's say white does play this move. I guess white might have some tactics. Like let's say we go g6, maybe white can take. And if we take, maybe white can take. Because if you take, white takes here. I don't know if it works out, but that might be an idea. So black could maybe play a move like rook 88. Making sure that's never possible. Black could also trade, I guess. And then g6 also looking pretty solid. But I guess maybe it's better to let white trade and get the pawn on e4.
Correct. Is our small board frozen?
I don't think the board is frozen. I think we're just
No,
not
I don't
seeing
think
any,
so
any
either.
moves.
Yeah, there were no moves. Yeah, queen. Ah, no, wait. Queen b3 was played. Yeah, queen b3 was played. Maybe.
So maybe
Maybe
queen
we are
a2 now.
missing one move.
So I guess we still. Although wait, if you so queen a2 is an option. So I guess white has to take. We recapture. Our knight is of course a little bit off here, and additionally white has knight c6, hitting the bishop and hitting the pawn. Queen e5 also an option for Levant, by the way, which could be completely fine, I guess. Because I mean, you take, we recapture. I mean, maybe knight c6 and hitting this, but black should be completely fine after something like king f7. Yeah, it looks completely fine for Levon. I think he should be doing very well here.
Yeah, it's really tough for Linear to find any play here. Like any move he does is met with a queen move that is active and prevents any chances. Like queen d5 was just played.
Yeah. So queen d5 was played. Yeah, then Levon should be in very good shape to move on here, I think. Yeah, no, I honestly don't see neither Linier or Richie coming back. I think both Hikaru and Levon are looking very, very comfortable here with the black pieces, but of course you never know.
Yeah, of course, Hikaru is further away from clinching the win in the match. It's still a lot of play, while Linier, in my opinion, probably is already kind of resigned to the idea, and probably after queen trades soon will offer a draw. I know he's not the player who will completely set everything on fire and go into losing position. He will just accept the defeat.
Right. Yeah, no, of course. I mean, if Linier offers a draw, Levon will gladly take it. I mean, I'm sure Linier is still trying to come up with some chances here. I guess white has to trade, right? I mean, knight c6 is still an option hitting the bishop. I was thinking maybe after king f7, there might be the move knight d4 hitting the pawn on e6 and the pawn on b5. But even if you sag the pawn, black should be completely fine. Like, let's say you take here and black goes like rook b8. Black should be completely fine here, I would think. And yeah, it's definitely nice for Levon that everything gets traded off. And for Hikaru, in Hikaru's game, there's still all the pieces on the board, but black shouldn't really have any trouble, I would think. So he should be in pretty good shape as well.
And not taking the queen is going to make the position maybe even not survivable, because yeah, this queen is just super strong, and bishop c5 is coming, f2 will be hanging. This is very scary to leave the queen alive.
Yeah, I guess a move like queen b1 is just too passive, and as you mentioned, black might have a very nice move bishop c5, because if you take this knight over here, black could first of all take with the rook, threatening checkmate, and black has a lot of tactics, but black also has bishop takes f2. Check, if you move the king over, then bishop takes e1, and if you recapture, it seems like you're defending everything, but black has queen takes c5. And if you recapture, back rank, checkmate. So, yeah, it seems like all the tactics are working out for Levon. And yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't see it for Linier. I think he's just gonna get knocked out here.
Yeah, it's a shame. He had such a nice comeback in the group stage, and then winning the match against Wesley. But yeah, Levon is just so much stronger in this tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Levon is playing pretty good. Of course, Linier also had a very strong comeback in the group stage, as you mentioned. But, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. What can you do?
But okay.
So let's see. So that one is looking very good for Levon. In the meantime, yeah, what is Richie gonna do here?
Now Richard is taking his time. Maybe the knight move, maybe the queen move. Is there anything active that he can do? I was thinking maybe a4, and later he could potentially play a5 after trading on e5.
Wait, sorry, so we're saying like trading on e5 or?
First a4, for example.
So let's say a4. I mean, I still have this move g5, but let's say I just play something like... So I guess your idea is like, let's say I go rook 88, now you want to trade everything and go a5, or? or e5 right
But it's a
away.
possibility. I don't think you would really necessarily play e5 immediately, but you can have it as an option. I just want to see what you will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, g5 now looks quite tempting, actually. I know it completely exposes the king, but at the same time, black is the one who will be making threats first here. White pieces are
Indeed, yeah.
still not in any harmony, so to speak. The bishop on c1 is stopping the rooks from joining up, and you cannot
Yeah.
really develop this bishop. Maybe a4 then is not an option. I don't know, but playing b3 and developing the bishop to b2 or a3 doesn't make any sense at all. You really want to have it somewhere on f4 or g5, right?
Right. So after g5, so white, I guess black has a nice tactic. Like, let's say you take on e5, and after takes, maybe you could even take... I was thinking maybe we can take with the bishop, and then after f3, g4. And if white takes here, we take with the pawn, and black should be completely fine somehow. But, I don't know, maybe it doesn't. Question is always how this works out. So if black wants to be safe, I guess black could always take with the rook, making sure everything is protected. And here, maybe after f3, we still have this move g4. Again, white takes, what we take, we hit the queen, and this whole transition and pawn structure should always favor black. And then if white does not play f3, but he plays a move like, let's say, bishop g2, I think g4 is a very nice move anyway, because if white goes f3, we take. This trade should always favor black, and otherwise you cannot get rid of this knight on e4, and then we're just going to go rook a8, h5, h4, with, you know, pretty simple play, and white doesn't really have anything in return for that, so black should be doing pretty fine. And I've had some games against Hikaru online. I think he's not too shy to push this g-pawn up the board. He probably must realize that stabilizes the knight on e4, and he has a very good position then.
Yeah, true. It limits white's chances to create any play. Sort of freezes their position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, but you cannot really stop g5 either, because you were smart enough to put the bishop on h3.
Yeah.
And now he might be already thinking how to bring this bishop back without losing too much time.
Right. So, yeah, no, I mean, I guess Richie is just struggling here, struggling to come with a plan. Yeah, rook d1 versus rook 88. I kind of like your earlier suggestion, knight d2. This knight on e4 is really black's most active piece. So I feel like white should try to exchange it. How this all plays out remains to be seen, though. Because even if we make a random move and white trades, it feels like black should be fine here. But I think knight e2 has to be played and try to exchange this active knight over here.
Yeah. But do you think black should take with a pawn on d5? I mean, we cannot recapture now when the queen is on d7. But is it possible to do something else to?
So what exactly?
I don't really like exposing this diagonal, to be honest.
True.
I don't know. Maybe taking on d2 is better, or moving the knight away even.
Yeah.
Actually, what do you think about knight g5?
Oh, then it hangs f5, no?
Yeah, true.
Right, so... Actually, so rook 88, it has one drawback. So after takes, queen takes e4 is completely out of the question, because this queen is protected, we can just take, and we win the game. The one thing white has, though, is queen c4 check, and if the king moves over, bishop takes f5. And if we recapture, this knight is all of a sudden hanging. Black, of course, still has some compensation, because his king is a bit exposed. Maybe just go h5, h4 with good play. But if black wanted to completely rule out this option, Black could play the move g6. Right, sorry, g6. Now white can take on e4, and after pawn takes take on e4, but if white does so, we do not take the queen, because white takes here and white is more or less winning. But we have the option of taking on d4 and hitting the queen on e4, and black should be completely fine here, probably just much better. So let's see whether Richie will go for this move knight d2. If he doesn't, I don't really see an option for him, to be honest.
Yeah, and yeah, moving the knight is not an option. Yeah, g6 also threatens with knight g5. So white will have to capture on e4. So
right, yeah. If we go g6, his
yeah,
pawn is protected.
yeah.
So
I guess yeah. Rapport just calculated all that, and he's not happy that all these trades are happening.
Yeah. No, it's kind of interesting because very often we say, like, okay, you have to move, you have to make a move, right? Like, gotta go. But if you don't see a move that you like, then what are you gonna do, right? You might just end up making a move you don't like, but that nobody really likes doing that. So
yeah, this might be a critical position actually for Rapport, because he really needs to come up with a plan that leaves more fighting chances for him. Because normally when you play with white in a long round robin tournament, you kind of don't mind to have a draw against a player of your strengths, because you will have chances in the next game, so you will not push to the limits. Here, if he doesn't win this game, this stage of this leg of the Grand Prix is over for him. So working more on this game won't hurt, so to speak. You're not to play more games if you didn't succeed to win. But if you do succeed to win, then yeah, okay, you will find more energy to play tomorrow and so on. You need to stay in the game. So he is working really hard to come up with some plan that he's happy with.
Indeed. And yeah, it's looking very good for Hikaru that Richie is now also catching up on the clock. I thought that, okay, so Rook b1 had been played by Linier. It's showing Queen e8, but that's definitely not the move that has been played, because Queen e6 wins the game on the spot. So I guess this is the position they have on the board. Maybe Rook b1 was White's last move. So let's think, after Rook b1, what should Black do? I mean, maybe we just trade. White recaptures though. I guess maybe Levon, he could always trade, and then let's say he trades, and then we go Rook a8 maybe, threatening checkmate, and if g3 we have time for something like, although I mean we have Rook a4, but then we're stuck over here, right? We cannot move the knight because then we always hang the pawn on b5. So I like Rook b1, I guess, by Linier. I guess Black should trade.
I don't think it was played actually. I'm sorry. Did you say it was played? I cannot see it.
Well, I was saying after Rook b1, there's no chance Queen a8 was played, because that moves lose on the spot. But I do think Rook b1 was played by Linier. But no moves after that, right?
I don't think it was actually. I'm not sure.
Oh, did Linier make another move after Queen d5, or is he thinking, or what?
No, I think he did not make it. He actually is already below 30 minutes on his clock.
Huh. I thought I saw him move on the live feed, but maybe he did not.
Rook e1. No, wait. Okay. The moves came up. Okay, so on the live feed it was, but not in our boards. He played Rook b1, and then Rook e1.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, so after Queen d5, he played Rook to b1. Okay, Levon just took the knight. He took on b4, take. But it feels like Black should have a way here to just draw the game on the spot. I mean, let's have a look. Maybe Queen e2. What about Queen e2? We hit the pawn on f2, we hit the pawn on d3. If White goes f3, I mean, I think you're just very happy to take here, draw the game, and just move on to the final. Yeah, I think this is just over after Queen e2. I don't see a move. I mean, White just does not have a way to keep the game going.
Yeah, I think I know what happened. There probably was some kind of PGN relay mistake, because I saw at some point Rook e1, then it disappeared.
Right.
That happens sometimes, so that probably was
Yeah.
fixed, and that's why we did not have moves on the board
So let's
for
try
a
to
while.
check in with the live feed. Maybe that answers our question. So let's try to look very, very closely. So, no, this is the position on the board, what we're showing. So
Yeah.
this is the current position on the board, and I think Queen E2 just draws on a spot for Levon. It's just over. There's just nothing White can do.
Yeah, you
Because you
have
hit
to play Queen B2.
Right, or something like F3. But if you go Queen B2, I mean, I can just take on F2 with the Rook, and yeah,
And yeah, it's complete
it's
dead
just
draw.
a draw.
Yeah.
So yeah, Levon is gonna move on. Levon is gonna move on. It's pretty much over at this point. Yeah, no, I mean at this point I would be. Yeah, no, Levon is gonna move on. It's this game is over pretty much. It's just a matter of time before a draw will be agreed. So Levon will qualify to the finals. So let's see whether Hikaru can make it as well.
It's kind of crazy how Levon only spent, what, maybe 25 minutes, maximum 30, including increment on this game, entire game, and he still has more than an hour and 10 minutes on his clock.
Yeah. But yeah, I would be shocked if he doesn't play Queen E2. It just looks too clear and obvious not to play it, and it's just, yeah, just really nice. Just getting everything off the board is really what you want here with black.
Yeah, it's completely out of question for Linear to play anything rather than Queen B2. I mean, like
yeah.
Queen H4, and you lose pawn on D3, your rook is attacked, and then B5, B4, B3. Yeah, he just played it.
Queen
Yeah,
E2 was played by Levon.
yeah. Maybe let's just keep an eye on this game for now, since it's gonna be over in a couple of moves.
Yeah, so Queen E2 played by Levon. Let's see what Linier is gonna try, but yeah, I don't think the result is in doubt here. I think it's just gonna be a draw, and yeah, that will be the end for the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin for Linier. He still has chances of making it to the semifinals. Is not a terrible result. Because I think if you win one leg and you make it to the semis in another one, you do have very good chances. But he will probably have to win the other leg that he's playing in.
Yeah, true. And he is going to be playing in Belgrade, I think.
He's playing in Belgrade. Okay, so already in the second leg. So that is starting pretty soon, right? When is that starting? Like 10 days or 15 days, right? At 20.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks between
okay, 2
first and second leg, and it's 1 week between second and third.
Right, yeah, I mean, I guess if you play in the second and the third leg, that is a bit tiring. I feel like Hikaru, it sort of has the ideal situation in the sense
no, Dominguez
that...
is also playing the same, yeah, the same as Hikaru. They are both playing in Berlin.
Oh, and the third one.
Yeah, in the third one.
Okay, he's playing the same ones, yeah. No, I think for Hikaru, it's ideal. I think it's ideal to play in the third leg, because then you know what result you need, so you know how much risk you have to take. And apart from that, it's also ideal that he's playing in the first and the third, so there's plenty of time in between to rest. Because, like I said, there's only 1 week between the second and the third, so that's definitely quite a challenge. Because there's not much time in between to prepare and rest. But let's see,
yeah.
so...
But so does Levon. Just saying.
Oh, right. Levon is also playing in the first and the third?
Yes.
No, I mean, Levon also, of course, one of the favorites of making it to the candidates, especially since he seems to be moving on to the finals here. And by the way, we still do not have a move from Richie. Hikaru's already up 10 minutes on the clock. I mean, what do you think he's thinking about?
I don't know.
Right? There are no moves, right?
Yeah, there are no moves. Richard has already spent like 20 minutes.
Yeah. And by the way, you guys, no draw offers can be made before the 30th move from black, so Hikaru did not offer draw, Richie did not offer a draw. Of course, if Richie would offer a draw, I'm pretty sure Hikaru would take it without any thought. The only situation in which Hikaru would not take the draw is if he would already be much better / winning, because then he will simply think like, okay, give me those rating points, right? So, but yeah, no draw offers, you guys.
Yeah, but also black, the player who is playing with black pieces rarely offers a draw in a equal situation. Like when it's completely obvious that it's a draw, it's usually white who kind of gives that sign that I'm going to offer a draw or the repetition is going to be played. But I think it's on all, so like more or less all levels of chess, kind of ethically, it's always either white or the side that has, for example, an extra pawn but completely dead draw, they offer a draw.
Makes sense, yeah. And here we have Richie on the live feed. If we have a very quick look, we see that Hikaru indeed has 47 minutes on the clock. It's still looking pretty good. Richie down to 35 minutes. So that's definitely a very good sign for Hikaru. I think he can be quite happy about how this game is progressing. And in the meantime, after Queen e2, no moves yet by Linier. The only move I actually see to keep the game somewhat going would be the move Queen d4, because you defend d3 and f2. But of course, I mean, there's no realistic winning chances here for white. I mean, any move for black here is completely fine. You just make a random move that does not blunder anything, and black is fine. You can just play something like h6. White can never take, because that hangs back during checkmate. And after h3, what I kind of like here would be a move like rook f5, defending the pawn. On b5, you can go rook d5, and it's just a draw. There's nothing to be seen by it. And as we speak, rook d1 has been played by Richie. So he's x-raying the pawn on d5. So I guess Hikaru is going to go rook 88. Looks like a very simple, logical move, just improving the position. So I don't think you should spend too much time here. But let's see if he will play it.
Yeah, true. Also, in the game of Linear, I wanted to add, if white indeed plays queen d4, I actually really like the idea to just push the pawn b4, and white has two pieces that attack the b4 pawn, but neither of them can take it because of all the checkmate threats.
Right, that's also
and
nice.
even
sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Even if white plays h3, then making a look for the king to escape, b3 and the rook still cannot take it. That's actually pretty nice, because queen d1 check wins a rook.
Yeah, and actually, if anyone is better in this position, it would be Levon, because he is the outside passer. I don't think there's any realistic winning chances, but once again, he can never lose his position. And as you mentioned, white can never take, because if he takes with the rook, you hang checkmate over here. And if you take with the queen, you hang checkmate over here. So yeah, Levon on his way to draw this game and move on to the finals. So rook 88 played by Hikaru. I like the fact that he played the move quickly, putting the pressure back on Richard, because Richard took... It's very interesting. I once heard this saying, I think it was by Nepo, that like if your opponent thinks for a long time and plays h4, you just play h5, so to speak, and your opponent will think again. Right? Like Richie played this move after a long thought. It's clear that he's not sure of a move. Hikaru played rook 88 quickly, and now he's thinking again. So it's looking really good for Hikaru. I was thinking maybe an idea for Richie. Like let's say he goes 92 right now. Right? In this position, if white plays knight at d2, black could actually decide to take on d2 if he wants to. Because bishop takes f5 is not an option, do the knight f3 with a check. And if you go king g2, hitting the knight, we take an e1 and we collect, the entire house, right? We just win a lot of material. In the current position, after rook d1, rook 88, if you go knight d2 here, I do not think black can take. Because white will take on f5, hitting the queen. And if knight f3, we go king g2. I don't know if this actually works out, because we can always move the queen somewhere, like let's say queen e7. And if you take, there's always e4. So probably might still not work out, but maybe he's looking at something along these lines, because I don't know, I feel like this whole inclusion of rook d1, rook 88, if anyone, it should favor black. So still looking very comfortable for Hikaru.
Yeah, for sure. Because now knight d2 for white already allows us more flexible options.
Yeah.
For instance, if now knight d2.
Yeah. And by the way, just to
Can we
confirm, the
just-
clock times are off. Hikaru's time is correct. He has around 47 minutes and like 14 seconds, something like that. But Richard is down a half an hour. So after only 16 moves, that's a very good sign for Hikaru. Guys, I'm not deleting messages. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But Rook 88 played by Hikaru. Yeah, it's looking very good. I think if anyone's better, it might just be Black. And he's up 15 minutes on the clock. So in a game where he only needs to draw, it's looking very, very good for him.
Yeah, the clock is wrong for Richard. They are correct for Hikaru, but Richard has half the time comparing to an actual what we see.
We have Quincy 5 played, by the way, by Lanier. But I was gonna say, I'm not gonna lie, like if I would be playing here with Black, I would be very tempted to just trade on d3, which is what Levon does. White has to take on b5. You just trade everything off and it's a draw. I think this is what's gonna happen. Players will reach move 30 very quickly, and I guess they'll just agree to draw. And
yeah, for sure.
Lanier will go home and Levon will move on.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, Levon would move on. I would be very tempted to play b4 actually, even if this is obviously so drawish. Like before just looks so adorable, right? To put the pawn under two attacks and no one can take it.
That's a very nice move indeed. But with all that being said and done, you guys, we are going to be taking a very short break. The game between Lanier and Levon could really end any moment, so let's hope we could catch the interview there, and we will be right back, of course. We'll see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to Game 2 of the semifinals of the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin. Maria, Levon already drew his game and moves on to the finals.
Yeah, it all happened just like you said. They just made just over 30 moves, and
by the way, and as we speak, we have an interview, so let's try to pull it up real quick.
Sure.
Okay, we missed it, but let's try to pull it up.
Okay, so I have a question, Jesse. Do you speak Spanish?
I don't speak Spanish. I knew that was going to be the question to you.
Absolutely, no. But and then you take the knight, otherwise your piece down, and f5 is taken, and later on f3 will be taken. Okay, so we'll have an interview with Levon Aronian, the first finalist, and we'll be back to this other semi-final right after the interview. Final right after the interview.
Levon, once again, seemed to me from out the outside, excellent preparation, playing very fast. Was this position part of your preparation for today? I heard you mentioning to Lenny after the game that it seemed a very solid position. There's not much for white in this line. Could you elaborate and tell us a bit about the game, please?
I have analyzed this position a little bit from white and black, of course.
A little bit.
It's slightly worse for black. White keeps a slight advantage and he presses, but it's a very solid type of position that if white doesn't play the most precise moves, then it just gets, gets into drawish positions very quickly. So, and I thought this is maybe a good idea for a game where I need a draw to play very solidly.
Lanier, it seemed things, you just couldn't get things going in today's game. With hindsight, what else could you've tried? Was there any other line you were considering for the game?
Yeah, no, I was slightly surprised by the opening choice. I think Levon usually plays bishop c5, but yeah, after the position we got, I was hoping that maybe I could get some slight pressure as usual in these positions, but then yeah, after I played b4, which looks very natural, it gets very, very concrete after d5 and b5, and I'm not even better after these complications with the ED5 and knight takes e5. It's just a bit sad for a must-win situation because it's not like I'm really close or anything. It's just black is really doing well here. So yeah, I couldn't do much.
Okay. Lenier, you've played impressively here up to now. Great preparation, opening play has been very fast, good time management. Have you really focused on these Grand Prix events during these last months? Is your main objective to get that spot in the candidates in June?
No, just generally I just want to improve as a player and work on my chess and continue doing what I love. It's not really directed towards any special goal. But I think, of course, some of work I did pays off. But this is an ongoing process that you need to continue working and not really thinking, what are you working for?
Okay. And one last question for you, Lenier. How do you evaluate the first leg for you globally, and what are you going to work on for the second event that you're going to be playing in Belgrade or in Berlin again?
Yeah, I think the result is objectively not. I mean, it's not bad at all because I keep decent chances for the last event. I just need to play well, and yeah, I think in general I have to work maybe a bit more on my physical shape because towards the end of the tournaments I get to. I tend to drop a bit the level. I get a bit tired, and especially when you have really tense games, and which is the case almost always in the events. So that's probably what I will try to do.
As you know, we're being followed by tens of thousands of fans from all over the world, many of them Latin American, así que aprovecharé que Lenier también habla perfectamente castellano para hacerte la misma pregunta para aquellos que nos siguen desde los países latinos. ¿Cómo evalúas tu rendimiento en este torneo y qué vas a hacer para el próximo torneo para mejorar aún más?
Sí, bueno, creo que objetivamente fue un buen resultado, no fue un mal resultado, porque me deja con chances bastante reales para el tercer torneo, que es el que voy a jugar. Y bueno, tendría que obviamente jugar bien ese último torneo. Creo que sin duda tengo que mejorar bastante la forma física para mantener un nivel de energía durante los torneos un poco más alto, porque suelo cometer más errores y tal en las segundas mitades y en las partes finales del torneo, ¿no? Sobre todo cuando hay partidas tensas y que requieren mucha energía, como casi siempre es el caso en estos eventos. Así que eso es lo que voy a tratar de mejorar no solo para el próximo Grand Prix, sino en general, ¿no?
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I saw
So I
that
have a
some
question,
people in our
Jesse.
chat,
Yes,
some people
also.
in our chat did understand what they were saying. That yeah, it was
Wait, what?
Spanish.
Wait, is it stream?
I
Okay, wait, did someone glitch there? Or like, wait, is it still working fine? Okay, wait, I had some weird glitch, but everything is still working fine, right?
yeah, we're live.
Oh, okay, good.
You were
Alright.
frozen for a second. The chat is saying.
Yeah.
I did not see that, but
Oh,
yeah,
no, but I
we're
was,
fine.
I
We're
was
fine.
honestly worried that the stream might have just died for a second there. We have an interview with Levon.
Okay.
Listen in.
In front of you. I wanted to ask you some general questions, not regarding your performance here. What would be the 3 best chess books, according to you, which you would recommend to anybody?
I like books that are, they're covering the field of psychology. So there are 2 books of Jonathan Rowson that are very good. One is 7 Deadly Sins, and the other one is Chess for Zebras. These are excellent books. I love them. Any book written by Toretsky, I would recommend. And my favorite book probably from all the books is, I don't know the English name for it, but in Russian it's Vagonya Taki. It's the book of Yakov Damsky and Mikhail Tal, which is, for me, this is an ideal book because it's extremely funny. And of course, any book by Sosonko, Gennady Sosonko, is wonderful. So these are from the authors, I would say, that wrote many books, definitely Dvoretsky, when you want to learn chess, and Sosonko, when you want to learn about chess and chess players.
What is your passion? What would be your passion outside chess, professional chess, and music?
Well, I love basketball. I also love different sports. I love running. That's a big passion. And yeah, all kinds of like logical games I love as well. So generally I like, whenever I'm with my friends, I like to do something that is engaging, you know, is challenging my thinking or my physical shape. So I also love paintball. So yeah, that's all those things are a lot of fun for me.
You mentioned sports. Are you gonna be treating yourself tonight with a Super Bowl?
Oh, that's not really my sport. I don't know why, but I really love rugby, but American football, I don't know. Somehow there are too many poses, so I kind of get tired while watching the game. Like with soccer a bit, I also get a bit tired sometimes.
And the music that is usually performed, like Eminem and other artists that are usually performed at Super Bowl, neither your style?
No, I think there are always interesting musicians that perform at all those great events. And I believe that if somebody is very successful at something they do, there is a reason. So that means they're very, very good. Maybe I don't appreciate it. I mean, maybe that's not my type of music or type of art. But at the same time, I cannot just ignore it. So I try to. You know, one of my favorite composers, Benjamin Britten, he never liked. I mean, he understood that Brahms is a genius, but from time to time he would feel that no, this is I don't like this music, and he would, I think, once in every 2 or 3 years, he would listen to all of the works of Brahms and once again try to confirm, is this my type of music or not? And he said, no, this is not. So I'm like that with a lot of contemporary music. I have to listen to it, try to get to like it, but you know, I keep on trying.
It's just like some openings in chess, right?
For sure.
My last question, not to keep you for too long. Are there some people in particular from St. Louis from whom you have received or you have been receiving a moral support during this tournament?
Oh, of course. The chess club is always supporting us. I think all of the players that live in St. Louis, Lanier, me, and Fabiano, and other players. And, well, all my little Armenian community in St. Louis, they always write to me. So, yeah, there are a lot of people who write to me. They're actually in St. Louis and they're watching, and some of them, yeah, they're sending me some ideas and things like this.
Opening ideas.
Yes.
That's very nice, Levon. I wish you a very good rest for tomorrow and be in great shape for the finals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great interview with Levon, and indeed he moves on to the final. So let's see Hikaru.
Okay, I guess against Pakistan.
Speed. And,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
we had quite a Richard move on the board.
Yeah.
Fog.
Yeah, I think b4 makes sense. He wants to go b5, hit the knight, and if the knight moves there, maybe take on e5. I don't know how Hikaru should deal with this, because I feel like taking on d4 still isn't really the way to go. I guess white takes with the e-pawn. Now this bishop is free to come out. And that sort of solves the problems for white, I would think. Maybe you can just completely ignore b5, because you have knight a5. And you could maneuver the knight over to c4, which should still be fine. So let's see what he will come up with. But Hikaru also getting down to 30 minutes on the clock. Let's see which move he will choose. So yeah, the game between Levon and Lanier is over. Lanier moves on. Sorry, Levon moves on, my bad. So let's also put the Hikaru game on the second board. Right, so what do you think he should do in the current position after b4?
Maybe just moving the queen away from the d file. Just in case, plus defending e5 again in case of b5 happening.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe also g6 is an option. I still don't really like moving the pawn at all. It's too committal to spoil the pawn structure this way. But at the same time, I don't think Richard can use that any soon.
Right, yeah. So let's see. Alright, so in the current position, so yeah, g6 is a move, but it always has some drawbacks. So if you go g6, then this long diagonal could open up in the long term. I don't know why you guys are saying message deleted by me. I'm not deleting messages. So I don't know why you guys are being weird. Anyway, so g6 is a move
really
indeed.
asking if the chat is being weird?
Knight a5, then I could hop back to c4. Yeah, no messages are deleted. Very funny, guys. We're trying to watch some chess here, eh? And you guys are just stirring up some drama. Anyway, so g6 is a move. Queen e6 chosen by Hikaru also makes a lot of sense. So I guess the idea is the same. If b5, I guess he wants to go knight a5. White can take here and get another bishop, but look at these knights. These knight on e4 is very strong. And these other knight coming to c4 is also looking very strong. So even though white has two bishops, I don't think he can claim an advantage at all. Let's say white goes bishop d2, we go knight to c4, hitting the bishop. Bishop e1, knight b2, we have a fork. So I think it's looking very good for Hikaru. I don't know exactly what the clock situation is. This is definitely not correct. I think it's more like 30 minutes for Hikaru, right? But I don't know.
I think so. I think it's about 26 minutes versus... Yeah, it's exactly the same time, actually. 26 minutes for both of them.
Yeah. And 26 minutes for both players. Alright, so that's definitely signaling some potential time pressure. Because that's not a whole lot, because they still have to make 23 more moves.
Yeah, it might get tight at some point. It depends how much simpler the position will become in case if they trade pieces. But currently, they need to spend this time quite wisely because in the critical moment, you want to have that time on your clock available. Now, of course, Richard might consider moving b5. It can be pretty nice to put the pawn on b5 with this structure for black because it stops both a7 and c7 pawns from moving, especially if he will find time to move his knight to b4. But it takes 3 moves, so that's could be tricky. But this knight currently is not doing anything on f3, so it could be an option.
Right. So where did you say this knight should go? Like,
yeah, he could go like e1, c2, b4.
Right, after b5.
After b5.
True, that is an idea, but it feels like it does take a bit too long. Richard could play b5, but it does seem like this all works out pretty nicely for black. The one idea that maybe is possible for white is staying on e5, and then knight at d4, because you hit the queen and you hit this pawn over here. But maybe black can get away with a move like queen to f6, because if you take with the bishop, we take over here and we win. Because if you take, I just recapture, hit your queen. My bishop is now protected by my rook, so black wins the game. And otherwise you win the bishop over here. And if you take with the knight, then you always hang c3, so black should be fine here one way or another. And if you don't take, black should be completely fine, I would think. I mean, after a4, I guess you just go g6, solidify everything, and I kind of like black's position. This knight is coming to c4. This bishop on c1 still feels kind of dead. So, I don't know. Yeah, what... So queen e6 played by Hikaru. I don't know what Richie should do here.
Yeah, maybe he can wait with b5 and do something else.
Right, but then on the other hand, b5 is kind of committal, right? Because it allows knight a5 and then knight comes to c4. So it's sort of like, okay, if you play b5, you must have some follow-up in mind, because otherwise then you could maybe play a move like a4 and just pass Hikaru the move, right?
Yeah, but then Hikaru might already consider the moves g5.
Right, indeed. If white doesn't do anything, then I like g5 by black. Going g4, and if white takes, this whole trade should favor black. White could, of course, still go b5. Is g4 an option there? Anyway, that doesn't matter, because b5, knight a5 is on the board. Wait, and actually, by the way, believe it or not, you guys, but this game over here, on the second board, it's the same game, even though it's flipped. But as you guys can see, it's the same game. Yeah. Alright, so b5, knight a5 on the board, pawn takes c5. Okay, Hikaru's gonna take. Still looking pretty good. And as you said, now the clocks have updated. Both players 26 minutes, right?
Yep. Correct. Yeah, so Richard is playing 94 next.
Yeah, I guess 94 is the move. Because as we said, taking looks pretty...
Actually, Hikaru can also consider queen h6 instead of f6. Hitting the bishop.
And if you take an f5, we take an f2, is that the idea?
Yeah, it's possible, because like f2 is quite weak after the rook moved to d1.
Right, yeah. And I guess black should just be... This should be good for black one way or another. Like, yeah, if you go here, you just get checkmated, take, check, and mate. And if you go to e1, you also get checkmated, check, and queen f2 checkmate. And I mean, you could go to f1, but actually here, Hikaru, you can go he could go rook f8, but actually we wouldn't be too shocked if he would go queen h1, which just forces the draw.
Just claim a draw, yeah. Yeah, just repeat the moves.
Right, so in this position, I mean, I guess if white takes on h7, it doesn't change so much. I guess we just slide the king over, and we still have a crushing attack. Because if white doesn't take the knight, we take the rook over here. We actually have a fork. So, yeah, queen h6 is also an option. But I guess here, white just drops the bishop back. He doesn't take the pawn.
Yeah, so the chat is asking whether Hikaru will accept a draw if it's +1. Well, first of all, the players don't really think in these categories when they play a game, like +1, -1, -2. I know that some younger generation now can think this way, like computer evaluations. But at the real board, it doesn't really matter. Until you won the game, it doesn't matter what number do you have on Stockfish. And obviously they don't have Stockfish at hand, but I can tell you in this situation where the queen is on h2 and black can win, unless it's like checkmate in 3, definitely there, Hikaru might just accept a draw because I don't think he cares too much about rating, but advancing to the final of candidates is top priority. So the final of Grand Prix on the way to the candidates is top priority. So he would probably accept a draw.
Yeah, no, indeed, 100%. I think, yeah, what you said very much makes sense, because if indeed, let's say he gets a position like this, maybe it's good for black, right? But the position is unclear, you've sacrificed a piece, so it's not 100% clear. So then, if you just repeat the moves, you know that you move on to the final, and I guess you're just happy with that. Of course, he could... I guess the only position in which he would play on would be a position where either he is just more or less winning, or a position where he doesn't have any risk at all. But in such a position, I think players generally take the draw. Because I even remember one World Cup, I believe it was in 2015. Sergei Karyakin beat Yu Yanyi in the first game, and in the second game, in which he was playing with the black piece, it was -4 for him at some point, but he still just accepted a draw and just moved on to the to the next round. So
yeah, actually the same happened in 2017 in Tbilisi with Hikaru, where he was losing the match against Livio Di Ternisipiano, And Misipiano was like something like a piece up against Hikaru, and he also offered to draw. So it's quite normal to do that, yeah, even if you are completely winning.
Right, but then on the flip side, I once played in the World Cup in 2017, and I lost the first game. Then in the second game, I was lost, and I offered a draw, but my opponent just declined, and he took my rating. So it's not like you can. At some point, it's too late. At some point, it's too late. So it's not like you can always. And then actually, in the recent World Cup over the summer, I had a game where I won the first game with black. Then in the second game, I was winning, and it was quite funny. Just a couple moves before the end. So I had a winning position, and then my opponent, he did this, so I thought, okay, he's gonna resign, and then he said draw, and I was like, oh, no, and I won the game. So there is a point where, what?
It's kind of like tricks where you think that they might resign, but they quietly say draw and then claim that.
Yeah, let's say he sticks out his hand, you take it, and he's like draw, and then they're like no. But yeah, as I was gonna say, even in situations where a draw would mean that you move on, at some point you do not take the draw anymore if the position is too winning, because then at some point you just take the draw, you just take the win and the rating points.
Yeah.
But let's see, knight d4 by Richie. I expect queen f6, I guess. It looks very nice and solid. Richie also has the option of going f3. Let's see, Hikaru at the board. He has like 22 minutes on the clock. Still plenty of time, but this could definitely come down to a time scramble.
Yeah, and in case of queen h6, Richard can consider probably two options. Yeah, taking on f5 is too risky. Bishop g2 or bishop f1.
Yeah.
I think it would be bishop g2.
I think so too, because if you go bishop f1, there's once again this option of sacking the knight, which looks very dangerous. I don't know if it works out, but at least it looks dangerous. Right? So I guess bishop g2, it feels a bit more solid. Hikaru should be fine, but with all the pieces on the board, this is still not over. Right, so this would be a typical situation where, let's say Hikaru would play in a normal game, and his opponent would offer a draw. He would not take it, but in this situation, of course, he would be happy. His opponent would somehow offer a draw. But once again, that is not an option. The players cannot offer a draw before black's 30th move. So let's see, 94 by Richie. I think he's going to go to f6. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Because, like, yeah, if you played queen h6 and white does not make anything stupid but plays bishop g2, you have to go back to f6 anyway, because f5 is hanging. So the question is, where is the white bishop better placed? On h3 or g2? Do we need to push it to g2, or do we prefer to keep it on h3?
That is a good question. I would think it's better placed on g2. Just maybe tactically it's better placed on h3, right? Like, let's say black gets queen f6 and g6. I don't know. And g6, then the bishop is better placed on g2 for white, right? But with the bishop on h3, white always has some tactical possibilities. For example, let's say we go queen f6 right away. We saw that white cannot take on a5, but maybe white is f3, hitting the knight, and then some tactics. But anyway, Hikaru should be fine, but let's see what he's gonna come up with here.
Yeah, and if f3, Hikaru can take on d4 maybe. And then knight d6, hitting b5, and also planning to put the knight on c4.
Right, yeah.
I cannot see how white can play for any advantage here, to be honest. These two knights would be dominating these two bishops, which is quite rare, actually, to have two knights who are superior over bishops, but with this pawn structure, it's quite possible.
Yeah, and as we speak, we have Hikaru on the main cam here. So let's see, let's try to figure out what he's thinking about. How much he has 90 minutes on the clock, we guess, but we're not 100% sure because his knight is blocking the clock. So let's see. Trading the bishop for the knight doesn't really seem to be making much sense, I guess. Although it is an option, but I don't really like it. I guess he just has to move the queen, but then there's f3, which sort of keeps the game going. So I guess maybe he's calculating queen h6. Right, he must realize that white has to move the bishop. Then the question is this ever an option?
I don't think it is in this position because after king f2 and queen h2, white probably will bring the knight to defend the king side, and you don't really have anything else. f5 is hanging. You don't have time to bring the rook to help the queen.
Oh, wait. And he was about to move. My guess is he was reaching for the queen. I think he's moving it to h6. Those sort of what I could tell from like the body language, that he wants to move the queen to h6.
But he is uncertain whether to play queen h6 or f6.
No, yeah, indeed. But it did not seem like he was gonna capture knight. He was gonna move the queen for sure, and I guess to h6. So let's see. Let's say he moves the queen here, bishop g2. He could play g6 now. Now he doesn't have to give up the bishop, and the queen could always come back to, let's say, g7. So this should still be completely fine for black, I would think. Yeah, I kind of like this option.
But maybe it gives white too much time to kind of reroute the pieces, maybe finish development, the bishop, bring the rook. Because you will have to put to make two moves by queen, right? To bring it back into play.
True. But the question is always, what is white going to do in the meantime? Anyway,
yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, we're waiting for a move here. It did seem like he was about to move, but he hasn't moved just yet. Let's see where he is gonna go.
That is asking if chat.com is down, but we are not, so just stay here. You'll be good.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, so queen f6 makes sense, queen h6. We could take on d4, I guess, but not really a big fan of that. But he's got to go here. He's down to 16 minutes for 20 more moves to be made. So he's got to go. So
it's usually when players are kind of like reaching out to make a move and then start doubting. In most cases, they will still make the same move.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they should ever doubt or just make that move anyway.
Yeah, no, you're making a good point. Right, I guess queen h6, hitting the bishop. The bishop will have to move back, as we explained before. And then maybe just moving the queen back to f6. There should be multiple options for black to be fine here. White can improve his position slowly with moves like a4. But let's say we just play a move like g6, right? What is white? Although maybe what white can do is to go something like bishop a3. Put the bishop on b4. So let's say we go here. Bishop b4. Hit the knight. And if the knight moves, that would allow knight c6. I don't know, it's difficult to come up with a plan. Because black has some good stability in the center. But white does have some ideas. So it will be interesting to see how this one will play out. But he's got to move here. 14 minutes.
Yeah, both moves also seem almost equally good. So yeah, okay, queen h6
by Hikaru on the board. So I guess the bishop drops back to g2. And what do you think he's gonna do if this bishop moves back?
I personally don't like g6, but I can also see that being played. It's quite solid defense f5. But maybe you can still have an option of playing g5 later, so it would be losing a tempo, playing g6 now and g5 later. So I think queen f5 is more likely. Also, we have other options with queen, like queen h5 or queen g6. But maybe
Right,
queen
yeah.
f6 is keeping the queen more in the center and not in the way of the pawns.
Yeah.
Defending d8 just in case.
And these clock times are definitely off. Hikaru has 15 minutes on the clock. It seems like Richie has 22 minutes on the clock. I expect bishop g2 by Richard here. I don't really see another move that makes sense. And then, yeah, maybe just moving the queen back, or queen h5, defending bishop g2 by Richie on the board. Queen f6 by Hikaru, all very logical. So I guess now a4 by white. Right, sort of the only move I guess that makes sense. It improves the position a little bit, and then you can bring out the bishop to a3. Hikaru should be fine regardless, but white is getting some ideas, I guess. Bishop coming to a3, maybe f3 at the right moment, hitting the knight. I guess. So what happens? Is f3 ever an option here?
I don't really like f3 for white. It blocks the bishop on g2. Black knight probably is happy to go to c5.
Yeah.
So Hikaru might consider to play knight c5 anyway. So helping him do that for free is probably not a good idea.
Yeah. No, indeed. Here knight c5 hits a queen. The problem is if white takes on f5, we take here and we win a piece because we can always recapture with the bishop. So yeah, and f3 doesn't work here. Indeed, which is why I think Richard should prepare with a4, bishop a3. So if knight c5 comes, he could maybe take in some variations.
Do you think in this case Hikaru will consider knight c4 to prevent bishop from going to a3?
That is an option, but it would always allow to move knight c6. Another option he has is maybe to go c5. I don't know how to evaluate this transition in the pawn structure. I mean, it makes some sense, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the knight moves back on the next move. I don't know, it should be fine, but also nothing too thrilling. So let's see, c5 is an option. Richard is thinking, yeah, to me a4 makes sense. But so let's see, so knight c4, it does allow knight c6, but the question is how, is that really a problem, right? What if we just move the rook? Because now this is under attack.
Yeah, and we already were considering to trade our bishop for the knight on d4 anyway, so I guess we are not too worried if the knight takes the bishop. What about knight a7? Is that pawn even hanging?
I mean, well, that would always hang the pawn on c3, so I don't really think so. Yeah, this is gonna get very, very tricky for sure. Richard has 21 minutes. I like the position for Hikaru. The one thing I don't like is that he has 15 minutes for 19 more moves to be made. So time pressure is definitely going to be a factor here.
Yeah, for sure. But now it's Richard to think, and maybe we might see mutual time pressure. Lots of blunders as well. Well, maybe not blunders, but of course inaccuracies. So we need to channel that energy for Hikaru.
Indeed, yeah. Throwing your prime to get Richard low on time. It always works. So let's see. Richard is thinking in the current position. He has 20 minutes on the clock. Hikaru's 15 minutes. I think a4 is the move. So let's say we play g6, right? Slowly improving the position. I guess white goes bishop a3. Knight c4. There's still knight c6. I don't know, Hikaru should be fine here, but not easy.
Yeah, what else can Richard consider? Maybe not a4, something else?
Alright, so, but then what
Oh no, he
could
just played. This is the answer.
Yeah, he just played a4. Alright, so let's see what Hikaru will do in the current position. He could also go for someone like h5 if he wants to be very aggressive. Because if white goes f3, we still have knight at c5, and we're fine. And if white plays someone like bishop a3, we go h4. And now after this trade, f3 will not be an option at all anymore. Like let's say white goes here, we take, and now f3 will always hang this pawn. But still, I mean, even though it is an option, it is a bit committal, so to speak, because we go for an attack. Whereas maybe you would like to play some solid moves, you know, like G6. But the one thing that is a bit tricky about this position is that currently black should be completely fine because he is very active. But if white gets active with like bishop a3 and b4, then white has some positional trumps, right? Because f5 is always a bit weak, d5 is always a bit weak. White has this, white has the two bishops, potentially the c6 square. So white has some positional trumps. So let's see how Hikaru will deal with this.
Yeah, maybe doing some prophylactical moves is a good idea here, like g6 as you said, and maybe put the king on d7, just so d5 is not being taken with a check in the future. You can also consider king h8, which is also fine.
Right, so let's say king h8, white goes bishop a3 for example.
Knight c4.
Right, knight c4.
Again, you were considering knight c6, but then we might even take on c3 with a knight.
Right,
We're
yeah, it's also a
heating
question
that
how
up.
this plays out, yeah. Here things would become very complicated. Richard is thinking this one is definitely oh, Hikaru trades on d4, I don't know. So I guess his idea is that if Richard recaptures, he now wants to plan the knight on c4, not having to deal with any knight c6 jumps. Because if he goes knight c4, there's always knight c6. That is annoying. So I guess that's his idea. So let's see how Richard will recapture. He could also take with the e-pawn. But okay, white does have the two bishops now against the two knights. So Richard definitely has some positional advantages here. So let's see what he will do.
Yeah, so question is ed4, cd4. He can even consider queen. No, queen d4 does not work because the knight will take on c3.
Yeah. Right, if you take with the queen, you lose this pawn, so that's not really an option. I guess
Maybe...
Richard's... Guess with the...
Sorry,
okay, wait,
yeah.
he has moved. He's taken with the c-pawn. Okay, so... yeah, interesting position. If this knight would not be on e4, white should be a lot better. But the knights are on e4 and c4 where they sit very actively. So let's say Hikaru plays knight c4, right? This move makes a lot of sense. What do you think Richard is gonna do to try to create any play here? Because f3 always weakens this pawn, a5 is not really an option, b5 becomes too weak, this bishop is still kind of passive. So what could be a plan here?
This bishop is just gross, to be honest. Maybe playing bishop a3 and offering it to be taken, which probably will be ignored, is the best option.
Yeah,
also,
I think so
bishop
too.
a3 temporarily prevents c5. Because right ahead, if you play c5, we will take on e4. Although the pawn recaptures with hitting the queen. So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe bishop a3.
An idea could be for Hikaru, like I was just thinking, maybe he wants to go c5. You cannot take with the pawn because you hang your rook. And if you do not take this pawn, and you go, let's say, bishop a3, if black gets c4, black is doing very, very well with this protected passer on c4, and black should be much better. So white is forced to take en croissant, but then let's say we recapture and we put the knight on c4. I guess this is a good transition, I'm not 100% sure. a4 is always weak, black can put the rook on c8, I guess. So let's see whether Hikaru will go for that, but that's definitely an option.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like c4 immediately because bishop a3 followed by when after knight c4, bishop a3 kind of prevents it, at least.
Yeah, and Hikaru has played the move c5. Alright, so I like this move. So now Richard will have to take en passant. I mean, it's pretty much... En passant is forced. En passant is forced. as we know, so Richard is gonna play b takes c6, so 100%, because it is also forced. 100%. En passant is forced, and we will see that in a second.
I mean, you don't ignore croissant, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Who doesn't like a croissant? But yeah, that pawn on, if it goes to c4, it's a killer.
Yeah. So Richard will take en passant. It's forced here.
Easy points, chat. Could play bishop a3, but yeah, no. If you had a piece to put on c3 to stop the pawn, that would be fine, but here white just loses too many tempos. Like to play queen c2 after c4 and then capture on e4, and only then you can put something to stop the pawn from moving. And your bishop on a3 hits a lot of empty squares, but like realistically doesn't have too many threats. And the knight b3 is a threat as well.
Yeah, and I like, indeed, en passant, it is forced, I told you guys. So I like this whole transition for Hikaru, because after the queen takes, the position clears up a little bit. Once again, a4 is always weak, this knight is hopping to c4. So, should definitely be a good transition in the position for black. Guys, and he did take, so I told you guys it is forced. Yeah.
You know that that the support on chess.com said that that the majority of complaints about cheating are about en passant. My opponent cheated. My opponent made an illegal move.
It's funny actually.
That's
after
funny.
b takes c6, it does show, you know, a little sign that you can click on, saying like this is en passant. It's actually legal.
Yeah. I guess this saves a lot of work for the support team to filter out all those complaints by just adding a little information sign for everyone to explain that this is actually a legal move.
Indeed, and people are saying it was not forced, but Richie just played it, so that shows that it is forced.
Yeah, and it's even not a nerf, you're right. It was around for many, many years.
Yeah. Alright, so let's see.
So what will white do now? Because queen c3 idea is quite annoying. So maybe it's time now to kick away this knight with f3.
So people are saying it's dry, that it's not dry at all. Like all the pieces are still on the board. It's still very, very tense. Hikaru has 12 minutes. So yeah, still a lot of pieces on the board. It's looking good for Hikaru. I like the position, but it's not over yet by any stretch of the imagination. So let's see what's gonna happen. I mean, what does white do here? Maybe bishop d2. I guess we go knight c4. The bishop on c1 is always really the problem in the position. I mean, how should he deal with it is the big question. Like, how do you think he should activate the bishop?
Yeah, I guess f3 was the idea, bishop d4, d2, and then bishop goes to b4 or c3.
Right. Yeah, but black always has some tactics. Like, let's say we go knight c4, there's always this fork that white has to look out for. The one thing that white has going for him is the pawn structure. Like, let's say white plays someone like rook c1, and we take here. This whole transition would be really good. This whole transition would be really... Wait. Where's my...
I think you need a microwave.
My microwave is fine, but my mouse is...
yeah, that's
lagging.
why you need a microwave.
Right.
To step in.
But rook takes c6 should be fine for black. So let's see. I was gonna shoot. Well, okay, wait, just a second. This whole transition should always be really good for white, because his pawn on d5 will always be really weak. But yeah, I think with yeah, so but Hikaru should be doing fine in the current position. Richard is thinking it's Richard's move, right? After queen takes c6. Yeah. So yeah, with all that being said and done, you guys, we are going to be taking a very short break, but do not go anywhere. Keep sending Hikaru your energy. If he draws this game or wins, he moves on to the final of the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin. So we will see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to the second game of the semifinals of the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin. Maria, things are looking better and better for Hikaru.
True, we had a few moves on the board, and although Richard had some progress with developing and then undeveloping back his bishop, but at least he doubled the rooks on the b file. But at the same time, Hikaru completely dominates in the center with his beautiful knights on c4 and e4. Plus he played g5 just now, and you can see that white has absolutely no counterplay here.
Indeed, yeah, it's a very interesting position where white has the bishop pair and black has two knights, but the knights on e4 and c4 are much stronger than the bishops. The bishops are kind of paralyzed in the current position, and I like the position. I like the move that Hikaru just played, g5. It looks like he's weakening his own king, but what he can do on the next move is, let's say white makes a random move, we can put the pawn on g4. Now f3 can never be played, we can just take. And if white just keeps standing around, what we can do is go h5, h4, open up on this side of the board. And yeah, it's looking really good for Hikaru, especially because Richard has to win this game. So if Hikaru just sits, I mean, what is white ever going to do, right? b6 is nicely protected, these bishops are kind of passive, and the knights are super strong on e4 and c4. So, I mean, what could he even do here? I don't see a plan.
Yeah, let's think. So white needs to try to remove a defender or put another attacker on b6. And currently the knight on c4 is the main problem. So what if we try to remove the queen from d3 and place the bishop on f1? In hindsight, I'm thinking when Hikaru played queen h6, maybe Richard should have played bishop f1.
Right. Yeah, maybe. So let's say queen d1, g4, and then maybe bishop f1. Bishop f1 makes sense, because I guess in the current position, white is threatening to take. Like, let's say we play h5, white can take this knight, and if we take with pawn, white is d5 with a fork on the queen and the rook, and if we take with the rook, white can take here. So that would not be easy to deal with. On the other hand, if white would play bishop f1, he's weakening the squares around.
Is it a draw? What?
Wait, draw? Let's go!
Did Richard just offer a draw?
Wait, draw agreed, really?
So move d5 was the 30th move. So did Hikaru offer a draw? Wait a minute.
Wait, let's try to pull up the live feed. Wait, but yeah, we have a draw in that game. That's a great result for Hikaru.
They just shook hands on the camera, but I don't understand who offered the draw, because we don't have
I guess Hikaru, I mean, it was his 30th move. But I'm shocked that Richard would just accept it. Why wouldn't he try to play on? Yeah, let's try to pull...
I mean, Richard can offer a draw without making a move, right? It's up to black to say, please make a move. But usually black don't offer a draw. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
No,
Richard
insane,
Richard basically resigned to the idea of trying to
Yeah.
play for a win, which is understandable. This position is really dead for white in terms of getting any advantage.
Yeah, for sure. So let's try to pull up the live feed. Some sort of weird...
No mass. Yeah, no more. I had enough. Well, I'll take that every time.
Yeah, no, so Hikaru moves on to the finals. That is huge. Let's try to... pull it up somehow. Just a second, guys. There's some sort of weird glitch.
That's really something you don't really see very often. When the player has a must-win situation, at least they will try.
Right.
But I guess Rapport was just so devastated after a loss yesterday, and with this position, he just felt hopeless to get any chances. He realized he has no chances, he just wanted to go home. That is showing that mentally he probably is not ready yet for competing for the World Championship cycle, because you need to have this resistance. You need to
be able to try to fight on. Let's try it. Yeah, so keep going.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like I would want to see more by Richard, more games, more fights. But yeah, if at the same time, as we already mentioned, he played so many games and so many events in a row that yeah, we have the board just disappeared. He just had so many events. He's probably just drained, and he cannot wait to go home and have some rest and prepare for Belgrade. He is playing the second leg, so he really wants to. So he would offer to draw. Yeah, Rapport offered a draw without making a move, and in this case, he of course knew that Hikaru will not be a bit like, oh, you should make a move first, because it's really not nice. You know that he will accept it.
Yeah.
Even if the move by Rapport will be not super good, doesn't matter. Hikaru will take it
anyway, we have
with
an
closed
interview.
eyes.
Let's pull it up. Let's try to listen in.
Master Hikaru Nakamura, the game is ended in a draw. With this result, Nakamura qualifies to the final. Richard, you played the opening quite fast. I was sensing that maybe you played this position before recently. Is this possible?
Yeah, I've had a game here. Okay, not so recently, like 3-4 years ago. Here in Germany, actually, in some Bundesliga. Okay, of course, my opponent was much lower rated and much weaker player than Hikaru, so he went something dubious after this E3 and E3 stuff, yeah. And then he captured in D4 too early, which was bad, and Might is just much better. But yeah, I was kind of happy about the opening's outcome, but of course, probably I should take on E5, like Hikaru said as well, trade multiple times, but I felt like it's just too little simply for such a situation, so I tried to do something smarter than that, which resulted in, of course, something stupider than that, so as usual.
Hikaru, did you, in your preparation, have this type of positions on the board? Was this something you were expecting today?
No, I wasn't expecting it. I just very recently vaguely looked at this idea with knight c6 and d4. I mean, my opponent in the final, Levon, has played this quite a few times with black, so I was a little bit familiar, but not super familiar. But I mean, basically, the match situation, I think, led to what happened in the game. I think in a different situation, Richard would find something that's a little bit more concrete, but it was very strange because he essentially allowed me to trade the light square bishop instead of exchanging the dark square bishop. And this basically the bishop on g2 is never active with this knight on e4, pawn on d5. And if he gets the dark square bishop, he can always go b3, bishop b2, and c4 and open a diagonal. So, I mean, somehow, of course, after the game, it's very easy to see why he shouldn't have allowed this, but I mean, match situation was, of course, very unpleasant, and so he tried to create something more rather than just play with the two bishops, which, of course, is very understandable. And I mean, at the end, I think maybe I could have tried for more if I really wanted to, but I mean, there's no need to waste time.
That was my question. Obviously, with the draw, you go straight to the final, which is the main objective. But it seemed to me that the end position, there was still a lot to fight for, and you even had the initiative. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, but I mean, why do I want to waste time? I mean, who cares about rating points? I mean, winning the match is all that matters. So, yeah, I mean, I could have played on. I mean, Richard would have tried to defend for a long time, and I mean, maybe at some moment I have something better. But okay, I don't want to waste time.
Okay. Richard, how do you evaluate your tournament globally, this first leg, and what are you going to work on for the second tournament in the Grand Prix? What are you going to try to improve?
Yeah, I think I played very poorly overall here. I mean, I was very fortunate to, you know, qualify from the group stage. Yeah, also I just came here from playing Vacanze, which is like extremely long event, and also here I played every day very long games. So obviously I kind of ran out of stamina as well at some point. Yeah, I will just take some rest, and okay, I will play the next one quite soon actually in Belgrade. But yeah, it's kind of home turf for me since I lived there for a while. So it will be certainly nice, and yeah, I will be, you know, surrounded by loved ones and friends, and hopefully that will boost me.
Okay. And Hikaru, final question for you. What does it mean for you to be in the final after essentially being inactive for the last 2 years in classical chess?
I mean, it's nice, I guess. Probably not expected, but I mean, I felt that I've played well. I mean, I don't think I've done anything super special, but when you're solid and you take advantage of the few opportunities that you have, I mean, then good things seem to happen. But I mean, to be fair, yesterday's game also, I mean, there were moments that could have gone both ways. So I mean, I tried to play for more, and it worked out. But I mean, it very easily could have been the other way too. So it's nice, but not really that big of a deal.
Would you say that your game with Sipenko was the most difficult one up to now?
Yeah, I mean, I just played a bad opening, and I got in trouble. But I mean, I think again, the problem with chess is that it always hinges on a few moments. I mean, if things go your way, it's great. If they don't go your way, it's terrible. I mean, even Richard, he could have been knocked out in just the qualifiers. But I mean, a little bit of luck. His opponents didn't convert some winning positions. He won the critical game, makes it through. I mean, that's why chess is what it is. I mean, sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's also, I mean, the worst thing in the world.
So last question, does the fact that playing against one of your Olympiad teammates in the final give you an extra boost of energy to try and recover one of the 4 main spots in the Olympic team? As you did say that if you're 5th, you might not be going?
That's not even on my mind. The Olympiad is so far away, I mean, I'm not even expecting to play, so we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, now if I can just only one question for you.
Okay. So Hikaru says it's not on his mind playing or not playing the Olympiad.
He's missing Twitter.
So let's see whether there will be more questions. Hopefully Hikaru can join us as well for an interview. But we'll... Oh wait. It's Richard. What is this about?
11 started with black, and to be sure, Mr. Nakamura started with white. The first final.
It's probably
Also, Hikaru starts the final with the white pieces.
Oh,
but kind of funny that Richard did the drawing of lots for that. But anyway, it seems to be that Hikaru will start with the white piece against Levon and Aronian. That's going to be very exciting, the final to FIDE Grand Prix here in Berlin. Oh, guys, we have another interview.
Dina this time.
Hikaru, congratulations on qualifying to the finals. Also, once again, you're going to have one more day off before that. I hope you'll have some great rest, so congratulations. I wanted to ask you something outside the tournament, as always. What would be 3 best chess books, according to you, that you would recommend to everybody?
I think that depends on the level. When I think about stronger players, let's just say above master, I think Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual is by far and away the best book to study, just because it's about pure calculation, and endgames that generally are very practical and can happen all the time. So above master, I think that's one of my favorites. I mean, not to be biased, but I think if you're an amateur, even though perhaps it's a little bit outdated, my stepfather's book, Best Lessons of a Chess Coach, I think is actually very good in terms of understanding how you should approach the game and think about it, as opposed to just doing pure calculations, especially if you're like 1700. So that's another book. And a third one, I'd probably say Kodov's book, What's a Thing Like Grandmaster, or To Think Like Grandmaster. So those would be the 3 books.
Do you have some other passions, or what are your other passions outside from playing chess and streaming?
Do you mean to make money, or do you mean to for fun? Because they're actually, I mean, it depends what the question is.
I mean, if you're comfortable bringing it on, but obviously something that entertains you on
Well, yeah, so I mean, I guess what I would say is, I mean, I spend a lot of time in the stock market and with real estate. I mean, these are almost just as important or as full-time as streaming, actually. So, I mean, I do a lot of different things. Casually, I mean, I like reading a bit. I like following tennis and following ice hockey as well. So those are the main sports that I follow. And from time to time, I mean, I'll play things like poker or backgammon. Those are some games that I like.
And poker used to be something serious for you some long time ago, right? But it changed.
I don't know about serious. I think, I mean, to sort of use Richard as an example, I think he said the other day that, you know, chess is very difficult. It's hard to make a living, and it's very brutal. And I think if you look at chess and you look at poker, there are certain aspects of thinking ahead, trying to analyze the situations and make the best decision. In poker, you don't actually have to be anywhere near the best, and you can make more than the world champion, so the world champion of chess. So obviously, I kind of dabbled in it, but it was never something that I was too serious about. You know, I didn't have the results. I played, but I was never making the final tables.
What would be the city that you would think of if I ask you, like, where you had the best results of your career, or the luckiest city for you?
I don't know about a city, but I think historically my best results have always happened in France, actually. I've done very well there. I won Cap d'Ag. I broke 2,700 there. I had a great result in the French team. So I think historically my best results are in France. But if you want to ask me for like a favorite city, I always will look back. Actually, there are two places. I'll look back very fondly on playing in the London Chess Classic. I mean, I was there for 10 years in a row on my birthday, and played there so many times. And also a place that unfortunately will be very different in the future is Gibraltar. I always liked playing that tournament, playing at the Coletto Hotel. I mean, nowadays it won't be there anymore, but a lot of great memories from that tournament as well.
Now that the tension is a little bit lower than yesterday, I was wondering, is the Super Bowl in your program for tonight?
Not particularly. I mean, I think I've always watched a little bit of it. Usually I think I've been in Gibraltar when I've watched them. Actually, it's very funny because I remember going back maybe like 5 years, whenever it was, there was the Seahawks versus the Patriots, a game that was decided on the final play where Seahawks tried to pass the ball for some stupid reason. And I remember that I fell asleep at halftime because it was late in Europe. So I might watch a little bit. I don't know, if your team's not in it, it's kind of hard to be super enthused about it. But I mean, of course, and also I think the other thing is that nowadays the ads are pretty lame. I'd rather go on Twitch and watch ads than watch ads on just mainstream TV. They're just pretty stupid now. I haven't enjoyed them for maybe like 15 years, so not a huge fan.
Right, and my final question, not to keep you for too long, as a top chess player and streamer, what advice would you give to me as a junior chess reporter?
Just a junior chess player, chess
reporter.
Oh, chess reporter. Okay.
I mean,
yeah. No, sorry, I just misheard you. Yeah. Okay.
So, what advice would you give me?
You know, actually, I think what I would say is that it's very important to remember that even if players at times can be, I mean, very chill. When players play long games, they have very difficult games with a lot of stress. You have to take that in mind, especially when they like lose a game, because I mean, for example, I think if you look at the interviews, Levon has been far more chill than I have, but Levon also has like not been in trouble in a single game. I mean, it's been probably as smooth an event as he could ask for. Maybe the first game he had to really show some technique to beat Vita, but other than that, I mean, he's never been in danger of losing, never had any issues, quick games. I mean, the game against Yasipenko was very long, very stressful. Yesterday, of course, was also quite insane. So I think just keep in mind that players generally, they're pretty calm. But when you have really long games, there is a lot of stress. It is like a sport.
All right. Well, do have a good rest for tomorrow, and hope that the finals is going to be amazing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was the interview. So yeah, let's hope Hikaru can join us shortly for an interview here as well. We will hope that he will be able to join us. So yeah, we'll just have to wait in the meantime. I'm pretty sure he will. I mean, he must be in a good mood after he's won, so just have to wait and see.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Hikaru gives really good answers there. And did you notice how both him and Levon, in a different way, said basically the same thing about the Super Bowl? about the ads and about it being the breaks being too long. It's interesting how the players have completely different backgrounds, of course, coming from different cultures and countries, but yeah, they have basically the same take on that question.
Yes, no, I think there's like in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a lot of fun watching, but there's way too many breaks. It's all about, you know, running the ads, which is a bit annoying. But with all that being said, you guys, we are going to be taking a very short break, but do not go anywhere. We'll see you guys in just a little bit. Hikaru will probably be joining us for an interview, so stick around for that. Welcome back, everyone, to the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin, and look who we have here. Hikaru, congratulations on winning your match against Virtual Rapport and moving on to the final.
Thank you, guys. It was a good match. Obviously, I'm very happy with my play today. I think you could say so. Yeah. Actually, let me adjust the cam because I guess you guys can't see me perfectly. Or no, I guess you have to crop it a little bit because I can't really do much about it. Oh well, it's life. Anyway, yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know what the evaluation was at the end of the game, but I felt that I was actually putting a lot of pressure on Richard throughout the game today. It felt like he had maybe one or two opportunities in the opening, and after that, it was kind of, I think it was just gone. It was just hard for him to play, and the situation with the match only made it much worse for him. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm sure I also missed some things because I was just trying to get to move 30 and offer the draw. I mean, maybe in a game where I didn't have draw odds, perhaps I could have put more pressure on him for sure before that point. But I mean, who cares? Who cares? I mean, there's no need to take 5 more off of Richard. I mean, obviously it's been a tough tournament, and I mean, when you get a good position, you're winning in a match. I mean, normally I think it's a little bit much to try and win, unless your opponent makes you win.
No, I think, I mean, yeah, it seemed kind of normal to just take the draw there. I mean, maybe you're better, but it's still very off from winning. Right, but yeah, actually, the computer said you played a very good game. So do you want to take us through the game?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the first thing I would say is that I kind of just winged it. I knew he was going to do something. I didn't know what he was going to do that was offbeat. He picked one of the things that I had not actually looked at. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, you know, Levon's been doing well in this tournament. Why not try to play like a Levon? And I decided to play this knight c6 move rather than go into the King's Gambit. King's Indian attack. I mean, go back one move, but I mean, so for example, yeah, I could have played c5, but I was actually very critical of a certain Sam Shankland when he did this against Sergei Karyakin in a situation where he was black and he only needed a draw. So then for me to go and play right into it felt like, well, then I'm just full of shit, basically. Pardon my English, but basically that I'm just making up stuff. And I'm making up stuff. Like I say Sam shouldn't do it, and then I go into it, and it's just like, okay, what's wrong with me? So I decided to play knight c6 instead, like a Levon Aronian, and then yeah, d4 knight e4 is played, and yeah, it's just like I mean, I think it should have been a good choice, except as Richard mentioned after the game, he had a game in this not so long ago, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, which I of course was completely unaware of. And yeah, like, I mean, I think white's maybe a little bit better after e3, but the only real try is to trade everything off on e5.
Right, that's also what we thought. So it takes.
Again, I mean, but the problem is it's a must-win situation. So like in a must-win game, like you don't go for the small advantage. Like you always try to keep pieces on and just keep it complicated, because that's better. There are better chances there than in like a very slight advantage. Sort of position where it's simplified. So like it's more about like keeping the complications in a must-win game than it is about finding the absolute objective best move. And so yeah, like I mean, he should have gone for this in maybe queen c2 and b3, but I'm skeptical that it's very much for white, that it's all that special for white, is what I would say.
Yeah, no, true. Maybe white's a tiny bit better, but yeah, it just felt like after he played rook to e1. So you played bishop a6. I guess here he had to take an e5 as well, right?
Well, I mean, the thing is, after the game, it's very easy to see. But the funny thing is, like, he let me exchange. He let me exchange the light square bishop when he really needed to exchange the dark square bishop. Because if you think about this conceptually, and I'm sure that now that I'm saying this, other people will beat me to this when they do their recaps. But what happens is the light square bishop doesn't really have much play. Like you can't target any of the diagonals. Like the c8 diagonal is not an issue, the 8 diagonal is not an issue. And it's very weird because the dark square bishop can go to b2 and c4 and you can open up that diagonal, but the light square bishop is just terrible. So
Right,
so yeah, so it's kind of weird how basically he ends up with the wrong bishop. Like the dark square bishop, you can open a diagonal towards h8. I'm not saying it's anything special, but you can do something. But the light square bishop just doesn't do anything on g2. It's just very strange how he let me exchange the wrong bishop.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, that's also the impression we had, yeah, because it felt like during the game, if he now
yeah. I
ever
mean, once I
trades
trade
at
on
e5
d3, I thought once I trade on d3 and queen d7, I became very optimistic. I'm like, I have winning chances. Like I can play g5, g4. I mean, there's so many things here that are in play, and mainly it's like if you trade everything on e5 just to show people, d5, knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5. Like your dark square bishop is just garbage. It can't do anything. The light square bishop is not doing anything either. So you just end up with the wrong bishop. It just he let me get rid of the right bishop.
Yeah, no, 100%. So he played rook to d1. I guess rook a8 was sort of an easy move to make, right?
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean, I don't think there was really all that much to the game, honestly. I mean, I thought b4 was a try because he was already getting low on time. I kind of expected, but I was mad at myself because I actually thought I could play g5, and I almost played it in like 10 seconds, and I'm glad that I held myself back. Because if I play g5 here, I think there's one little nuance. There's one little trick, which is he can play b5, knight a5, d takes e5.
And if you take?
And is better? Okay, after bishop takes, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, and then c4. And I mean, again, I suspect that I'm much better here. Computer's probably going to laugh at me and say it's just winning for black. But after knight c4, bishop f1, I was worried that maybe he can get some exchange on c4 and then open the diagonal. And I mean, again, I'm sure the computer will laugh at me completely for this. But I wasn't so sure because my king is very open here on the dark square diagonal.
True. Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, because here if the position opens up, things can become tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do this, but then it's, you know, like in another situation, I might have done this, but after thinking for like 20 minutes, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Just play something simple, keep the position stable, because like a win or a draw doesn't make any difference, but a loss makes a huge difference.
Right. So you played queen to e6, just keeping the situation solid in the center, I guess. b5, knight e5. He took.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, already if he doesn't play b5, what's he really playing for? So. True. Yeah, I mean, there are many ways that I could have done this. I thought what I did was completely reasonable too, with queen h6 and queen f6. Yeah, I don't know if it's the best, but I thought get the bishop on the wrong diagonal. So if he plays f3, I can just trade on d4. Now the bishop's on g2 instead of h3. It's on the wrong diagonal again.
True. Yeah. Now this bishop was also
like takes.
Dead.
Yeah.
And they just drop back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much really to be said after that. I mean, I just played normal moves, and then we get to this normal position at the end, and I mean, just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I like. I mean, bishop takes d4. It took us by surprise, but I think practically it was a good decision because you really simplify matters, and then you just plan the knights on e4 and c4, and it looks very.
Right. I mean, but also
solid.
like even here after b takes c6, and in maybe a game where I don't have these draw odds, I'd probably go rook c8, which I think is a better move. Right. But again, I wasn't sure, and I thought maybe there's some f3 e4 trick or there's something happening, and it's like, okay, why bother?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to play rook c8, but then I thought maybe there was some f3 trick instead of queen c6.
Oh, okay. So rook c8.
Yeah, I mean, I bet rook c8 is the best move, but I mean,
the queen takes
I don't
c6
know,
was better.
Oh, really? Okay. Because I mean, I thought knight d6 maybe there's some e4 trick or there's something like why when I know that I can plop the ponies on e4 and c4, why do I need to like do something stupid?
Right. So queen takes c6, bishop to d2, knight c4, rook dc1, rook c8, bishop e1, and I guess here you felt like white can't really do anything.
I mean, you have two bad bishops.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing also that I would say is like when you look at the top players, there's one player in particular who's been very good at understanding knights are better than when the two knights are better than the bishop pair. A certain guy called Fabiano. And that's another thing. I lost a very annoying game to him during that St. Louis run he had, where I got the two bishops against the two knights, and I thought I was better, but I actually wasn't better, and I lost with the bishop pair versus the two knights. So So yeah, I was just kind of like going for something like that. And yeah, here at the end, I mean, how can I ever not? I mean, I think I would have won this game if I'd played on, but it's like, okay, why do I want to waste 2 hours of my life when a draw is good enough? And I mean, Richard obviously is a bad tournament. I mean, there's no need to no need to keep trying.
Yeah, no, so I think, yeah, overall, really good game. So, yeah, Maria, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that a really great choice of the opening Hikaru to have this flexibility to just first of all, you followed really great lines, and second, Richard had to find ways to play for some advantage, and I guess Bishop h3 was trying to do that, but it did not really work out for him. And yeah, these two ponies made actually bishops look like just sad stables. So yeah, that was great. I just wanted to ask, were you a bit surprised when Richard offered a draw without making a move on move 30?
I offered the draw.
You offered to draw. It
yeah,
looked like he offered to draw. Okay.
No. I mean, I offer the draw because I mean I'm better, and again, there's no need to waste time. Like a draw is good enough. There's no need. Which of course now all the Reddit people will be like, see, and there's proof that he'll never get to 2800. He doesn't care at all. So yeah. Anyway, as I was saying though, yeah, I just offer a draw because there's no need to do anything stupid here. But yeah, it's just like, what's the point? But again, as I would say, and I mean, not to overstate the fact, because I mean, a lot of people like to make jokes, but the fact is, where was I going with that? I just lost my thread. It's much easier to play. Like I didn't prepare this. I kind of at the board, I just winged it. When he played knight bd2, I'm like, okay, well, on stream, I said, you know, I basically somewhat flame shame. I'm like, why did he play this against Sergey in his second game when all he needed was a draw to go into the King's Indian attack? So it's like, okay, well, I might as well just do something. And I just played knight c6 and e5. Knight c6, d4, knight e4. I mean, I looked at it vaguely, you know, maybe a couple weeks ago, but I didn't look at it closely. But, you know, who cares? I mean, whatever. And in the old days, I would have sat here and thought for 20 minutes after knight bd2. But now I literally don't care. So I just played some idea, and it seems to be working out.
Oh, it's actually really super impressive, because we assumed that you saw the game that Richard played in Berlin in Bundesliga, 3 years ago. And there was also a game by Levon with black against, I think, Kramnik. So we just assumed that all of those moves you actually prepared. This is how quickly you played them, but you actually found them at the board, which is, incredible.
I mean, like I said, I've looked at the line very briefly because I've played, I mean, two guys in particular, I think Levon and Veselin, Levon Aronian and Veselin Topolov both have played knight c6. So yeah, I mean, I looked at it briefly and I just played it. I mean, it's easy when you don't care, as the saying goes. And I know people like to think that I'm joking, but at the end of the day, I mean, obviously you have to prepare, you have to be ready to play, but it's very easy when you can just show up and play. And I think that quote by Richard about how if he'd spent this amount of time on something else, he'd be a lot happier. I mean, I've essentially said the same thing on stream about why chess is so brutal. But when you can kind of just play carefree, it's much easier. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier.
True. Yeah. Maybe you should pick up streaming. Who knows?
Well, you know, I mean, I think
you're kind of good at it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think like that's the thing is that, and this actually, I was thinking about this earlier. This is why players generally, I think they're able to have these big spurts where they improve a lot between like say 15, 16, 17, 18 versus like say when they're mid 20s, is because you're just playing the game, you're trying to improve, you're just having fun. There isn't really anything more to it, but once you're sort of in your 20s, you're on your own, you have all these other things that pop into your head. And I mean, it's very tough, obviously, very, very tough.
Right.
And you also have all those expectations and pressure of continue showing what you did when you were younger.
Well,
and
I mean,
it can be just not there.
Well, I mean, it's what Richard said. I mean, it becomes results oriented. The invitations, the tournaments you plan, you always have to perform. If you don't perform, like you have one bad period for like say 6 months, I mean, you get no invitations. There goes all your income. So, yeah, if you can basically play without stress, it's a lot easier. Than if you're playing under high stress. And it's like today was an example. I mean, in the past, I would have been feeling very nervous, very stressed, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna play knight e4, f5, just play the game. Who cares? And yeah, so it works out.
Nice. And
Yeah,
do you have
and
any
it's
plans
great,
for the
you
rest
can do
day
both.
tomorrow?
Sorry, go ahead, Maria.
No, I just want to say you're great at both, so it's even better. A win-win for us.
Oh, and by the way, for chat, because there are a couple of questions. First one, I won't wear a pineapple shirt because I didn't bring that, but I might wear a pineapple tie. We'll see. Maybe since I made it to the finals. I do have a tie, so I might actually wear it, but we'll see.
Right.
Yeah. And then I guess, just to answer a couple other general topics, and I kind of alluded to this just because I'm not going to post on Reddit or do any of that stuff. But as far as Dina's question, so then when you play a couple very long, very stressful games, it adds up over time. That's what I'm going to say to answer the that question. And then as far as the Anish stuff goes, the only thing that I will say about the Anish thing is that whoever it was who hacked his account is a chess player. It's 100% someone who plays chess and follows chess. So that's a little bit disconcerting. But yeah, 2FA, baby. Got to do 2FA. So if you don't do that, bad things can happen. And just for everybody who's asking, there was actually during the Sinkfield Cup in 2018, I actually lost my email temporarily because I didn't have two-factor, my Gmail. Someone was able to hack it and change everything, and it's only because I had a backup through my second email that I was able to recover it. But anyway, yeah, it was yeah. So that's what it is.
Facts.
Right.
Facts. And Benjamin also had a question. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, what are your plans for the rest day tomorrow?
I'm just gonna relax, and you guys come on, chill. It was someone who I'm pretty sure is Russian, just to be clear, for the hacker. I'm pretty sure it was someone who's Russian. So stop saying stupid things. And then as far as tomorrow goes, I think I will probably just relax, just take it easy. Maybe I'll go try to find some part of the wall and actually go touch it. Maybe see if there's something I can do, something like that. But that's probably it.
Okay, nice. And yeah, how do you feel for the big matchup against Levon?
It feels like a return to the old days. I remember I played Levon in a match in St. Louis. I want to say, good God, I think it was 2012 already. I think it was. Oh my God, I think it was like 10 years ago or something. I played Levon in a match in St. Louis. Someone can tell me, but I think it was. Oh my God, I think it really was 10 years ago. It's insane.
Like a Rabbit and Blitz match, right? Wasn't it like 2014?
I don't. At any rate, it was a gazillion years ago. So yeah. It's obviously nice to play Levon, and it should be fun. I think the one thing is that Levon, of course, he's had a much easier path to the final than I have. I mean, maybe his first game against Vita, he had to show some technique, but otherwise, it's been absolutely smooth sailing. Preparation's been there for him, and it's just he hasn't been in any trouble. So again, yeah, I'll obviously do prep. He's someone I'm familiar with. We've played a lot, and yeah, it should be fun.
Okay, nice. Yeah, we're looking forward to it, of course.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and like I said, I'm just everything's just been gravy. There have been people like on good old Reddit and other places who act like somehow there's some kind of pressure on me. But as I've sort of alluded to, I came into this event with zero expectations. I was just hoping to maybe gain some rating points. And that was about all that I was hoping to do. So when people think there's some pressure, everything after qualifying has just been gravy on top of the mashed potatoes. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm just looking forward to another rest day, and then playing a couple of good games, and that's that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Maria, do you have any more questions for Hikaru?
Just want to wish you good luck for the finals. Really looking forward to that. And yeah, I just wanted to add that it's not only saving time, but also energy by accepting a draw, which is absolutely right decision in the long run.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like there's kind of this unwritten rule in chess, which is when you play like a match, and the only event where normally you have this is the World Cup. But like there's sort of this unwritten rule that like if you win the first game and you have a better position, but it's not just like flat out winning, you make the draw. And yeah. I remember that in the World Cup there was this Norwegian guy, Christensen, I think was his name. And he played Alexienko. He won the first game. And then he blitzed out like 20 moves of prep in the second game, and he was much better. Maybe he was even just winning, and then he didn't make the draw, and he just kept playing to try and win the second game. And no, it wasn't Magnus, you guys. And that just kind of, I remember seeing that, and I think there are a few other people I know who at the time they also said something. It's like WTF, like what's this guy doing?
Yeah, I think it was in Hunter Mansisk, yeah.
Yeah. So at any rate, it's just one of those situations. But like I said, it's been it's been fun playing here. I've had a lot of fun, and obviously the fans have enjoyed it, so that's good. And yeah, I mean it's all fun. And also someone asked, am I tired? Actually, the thing that's been tough for me is I've actually struggled. Maybe jet lag's the wrong way of putting it, but my schedule has not been consistent throughout the event. So it's been pretty tough. But the games have been late, so I've been able to just sleep and wake up a little bit later, and I've sorted through that. But it's all good. And yes, that's what it is.
Okay, well,
thanks for joining
awesome.
us. Really great to have you,
we'll
and
let you-
amazing games.
Yeah, and also just for people who are wondering, I will do a recap as well. I will do a recap. Don't worry. I will. So anyway, yeah. All right, you guys. So it was fun, and yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday, I guess. Oh man, I mean, this tournament it's costing my title Tuesdays, my Rapid Championships, and Arena Kings. So sad, but it's life, I guess.
So take the most
when
of
you try
it
to play
then.
chess. Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy Berlin.
All right, I'll see you guys. Have a good one.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, yeah, that was Hikaru. Once again, he qualifies for the final against Levon. So that's going to be very, very exciting. So make sure to tune in for that tomorrow. There will be a rest day, so don't tune in then. I mean, you'll not see anything. But on Tuesday, Hikaru is going to take on Levon in the final. I think he's playing with the white pieces, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure to tune in for that. It's gonna be at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. Central European time. So we hope to see all of you guys there. You guys have done an amazing job so far, through a lot of energy Hikaru's way, and you just need to push him even further in the final. So yeah, we hope to see you guys then.
Yeah, and also we hope to see you, Benji, soon on your stream, as we will be raiding you. So chat, please stay on and join the raid, and see you guys there. And of course the recap is also coming your way very soon. So thanks for being here, and yeah, looking forward to for the final.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Make sure to tune in then. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a good one.